Hello, everyone, and welcome to another magical, wonderful, and news-packed episode of the DweeBros podcast.
Got a lot coming at you today.
If you're a watcher of the podcast, welcome back. If you're new, hi. I'm Dweebo, aka Zach. It's on my birth certificate. It's not Dweebo.
I mean, I would be surprised, but my name's Jacob. That is on my. Well, actually, my birth certificate it says Jake, but I like Jacob.
We got some Jake lore.
And my name's Jake Ware.
Really?
Jake Jake Adam Ware.
Wow.
Calling you Jacob.
You can't trust anybody these days.
I'm a Jacob.
Okay.
I'm just a Jacob. I look like a Jacob.
My name's Travis, and I won't be letting you know my last name.
Oh, we're not supposed to do that.
I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna edit it right here.
Okay.
In big bold yellow letters.
Joke's on you. I edit the podcast.
Well,
I'm gonna put your phone number and your address.
Oh shoot! And it's going right here.
I'm gonna dox you.
He's going right.
I got doxxed on my own podcast. Welcome. Please don't dox us or swat us. What else can happen to a person?
I think the swatting thing has kind of died out a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't really see that a lot anymore. If anything,
let's bring back like the pizza.
You know what the big thing is
delivering
doing?
Pizza to somebody.
People donating very large amounts and then refunding it.
You know? Oh yeah.
Have you even seen
sucks.
that?
I've not seen that.
You've seen it small. It happens to small streamers.
Yeah.
And you'll find videos. Oh, I got donated 10,000, and he starts crying, and then the next day he gets online. He's like, "Well, that person refunded that, and that was really sad."
Oh gosh, that's her. I agree with you. I think like getting a pizza delivered that you didn't get. That kind of, like even if it's a bad, like a weird combination of things.
That's the classic.
That's funny. Like
the SWAT thing, I might be shot. That's not funny.
I saw something the other day. It was like on TikTok or it was like a repost on Twitter, and they were like, "Bring back pranks like this." This girl brought her boyfriend to like a dinner with her friends.
Yeah.
And when they all got the pizzas, like one of the guys was like, "Okay, hold on." And they all just put their hands over their heart and said the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, I think.
And the guy was like he didn't know what to do.
Then you just start
and then when
it
ended, like he laughed, like that's funny. Like we did that in school, and everyone was like, "Yeah, we just that's something we do." And then they all went about it, and then it just kept going on, and they stuck with it. And they were filming this guy. He's like, "What is going on here?" And then he came up. He's like, "Hey, before we get into dessert, don't just let us know we have something we do for that too." And he walked away. And it was like, those are funny pranks. Not like punching an old man, in the streets.
It's just whatever gets you clicks now. That's all we care about.
Well, we're bringing back clicks. You've brought a click to us, and we thank you for your click.
Always.
For your big clicks and your little clicks, really.
If you want to get some bots clicking too.
Yeah, whatever.
Hey, the bots do matter for this channel right now.
Yeah.
Except for the comments. The bot comments are actually
Hey, I want to talk about. We got some comments about our last podcast because if you remember, we talked about this game that came out a couple of years ago called Last of Us 2.
Shocker.
And we had some people in the comments, and you know what? They were wrong, but they are fans. They're wrong fans, but they were supporting Last of Us 2.
Yeah,
the Last of Us 2 fans.
They're sounding intelligent.
Do you ever admit when you're wrong?
I think our audience is more intelligent.
They're the loud minority, and the silent majority are like me. And they're sitting back and they're going, "It's not even worth it, Zach, and I just need to listen to them."
It's not even worth it.
It's not even worth it.
You think so?
They're like, you know what those fans are? They're patting me on the shoulder going,
if you're part of that silent majority, go ahead and chime in.
Help
but
him.
They're silent.
Time to end your silence.
Because he is in dire
no
need.
path forward.
But I do want to shout out one comment that they did like Last of Us 2, but I felt like this summarized what I was trying to say last time.
Go on.
They had, and when I went back and was playing more, I want to update. I did quit on this playthrough. I quit this playthrough, but this guy kind of wrapped it up. Well, in the comment, he said, "Hey, I really liked the game, but I don't find myself ever going back to it. It's kind of like Schindler's List." And I was like, I could not put that into words, but that makes sense. Because I think that's an incredible movie. I think Last of Us 2 has some incredible parts. There's some stuff we can fight about again. But I tried to play it again, and I just was getting that closer to the part, and I knew what was after, and I was like, I just don't have it in me. Like, I can't have that much of hours of playthrough of somebody being mad and stuff the whole time.
Yeah, you know what? I just went and double checked.
Yeah.
All those people are great people. And I want you to go. Yep, great people.
Oh, they're great people. I agree. They're just wrong people.
No, you're wrong. But we're not going to rehash that. Because
You
this
know,
is a new.
here's
We're
what I'll
rehashing
say.
this.
Here's how I know I'm right. I played that game. We had our review. I
Yeah.
gave it Game of the Year, and I had closure. But you don't have closure. You bought it again.
I'm kind of like
You're
Ellie.
still talking about it.
I'm
And,
like Ellie.
I'm just gonna say this is
You-
like when somebody can't stop talking about their ex.
Yep.
They're not over it. And
they're
you're
not
over it.
over it.
I'm
but
like-
I have closure.
I'm like-
happy. And
I'm happy, dude. Look
If
how
you're-
happy I am. I'm
No.
missing a finger.
you look
for
real
some
happy. Why don't
reason.
you say what else you did this month after you quit this game? You watched something.
So they came out with
Yep. Here we go.
Last of Us.
Here we go.
Well, I think it's just called Grounded 2. It's a documentary on the making of Last of Us 2.
Did you watch that?
I watched the full thing. I got
See,
through
you
that.
can't let go.
Yo, he's in on it.
He's like deep, like scrolling on their socials.
He really,
like,
honestly, I think he,
When's it coming out?
He likes all the comments that agree with his train of thought, but he starts to realize I'm not liking anything.
No, I really enjoyed the documentary. I love the first documentary they did because it's very in depth, and this one also goes into like they recorded in real time of like them making the game, so you get to see like, hey, we got to hit the E3 dates. But one thing that this over everything that I learned in this documentary and entertaining, about it made me miss E3 so much because that's a focal point. Because they're like, hey, here's our timeline, and we have to make this date because that's E3. Like, there's no way around it. So they keep talking. They're like, hey, we have to take a sliver of our team, and they can't work on the game. They have to work on the E3 demo. So you can just see like they're just fractured a lot of the process and that's like for any game, when E3 was still going on, they have to take a portion. It's like you can't work on the game. You have to make this E3. When I was like, oh, I miss it. And they did the one, the Sony E3 where they were in the tent.
Yep.
I think that was like the final one, really.
Yeah.
But all that stuff just brought back memories. But then they got to like COVID, of course, and like stuff had to shut down. And then they talked about. Do you care if I talk about stuff that?
You're fine.
They talked about the leaks that happened. And I had forgot that this happened because I kind of went really when a game's about to come out, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like I I'm going dark. Like I'm not looking up anything. Same thing with Last of Us. I didn't really see these leaks. I kind of heard about them, but they talked about it was just some guy that really wanted the game to come out, so he leaked all this stuff. He hacked in and leaked all this stuff, and it was funny. The guy Neil Druckmann was like, I was so incredibly angry at this guy. He was like, but then I had to like remember the game itself. Like I had to like let it go. And he's like, there it goes. It just happened. Like, and it's like he was so extremely angry and hating the guy. And then, like he went
leaked
full circle.
like the entire script. They leaked like the end
Well,
and
the stuff
everything.
was like it was kind of like half right and half wrong too.
Yeah.
Like they made it seem like it was much more like on certain issues in the game, but it wasn't quite right. But no, really good documentary. But I am affirmed on one point. I am taking the chalk up to the chalkboard. In the documentary, they talked about, they were like, along with the E3 stuff and like how long the game was, all these developers, when they were doing like the interviews, they were like, this game's too long. They were like, once we got in there, it's too packed in. Like we made too much. And like all these people are like, it's too long. We won't make a game like this size again. Like it's too much, like development wise, crunch wise or whatever. So I was like, they agreed with me.
Yeah.
It was too long of a game.
I think that's
too long of a game.
Again, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole again. You
We
know
should.
what? I'm not even going to go down. You're right. Let's just move on.
I would say
No,
that,
Travis, he's right.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting like last third of a game.
Yeah.
Because it's so like there's like this, it's these bookends of like there's the early stuff in Jackson.
Yeah.
Then there's like all this saga of things in Seattle with
Yeah.
both sides. And then there's this bookend of Santa Monica or wherever.
Yeah.
And so like
At the Santa Monica stuff, even if the
and
other
there
stuff
was like
long,
some
it was,
farm
that
stuff
was
in
pretty
the
long.
middle there and stuff. But like I always kind of saw it as like two bookends and then like this very treacherous thing going on in Seattle. And so like it's differently paced than any other game.
Yeah.
But it reminds me, I'm even playing a PS1 game right now. It reminds me of big long games like with like discs, like multiple discs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the first game reminds me of like a first disc like setup, the set,
Yeah.
then it's like a 3-4 disc game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was enthralled with it enough that I played it over like a 4-day period and didn't hardly do anything else. But
yeah, I mean, I choked it out quickly.
I will say when you get to the Santa Monica stuff, I got nervous for a minute because I didn't have a lot left in me, and I was worried it was going to be like another whole 5, 6, 7 hour thing, and it's not. It really only takes a couple hours, that last part, and I didn't know. So I mean, I get it. I won't argue. I'm sure from a development standpoint, they felt like they were way over their skis.
I think we can kind of transition also into what has just happened today. Literally, I think they announced more layoffs.
Yeah,
and I think that's just paired with like
Sony in general. Plus, Naughty Dog
there's
is
some
part of
Xbox stuff we're about to get into as well. Like, I think we have hit a pivotal moment in the industry. Along with this documentary I was watching, I'm like, the signs were back in like 2015. You know what I mean? Like, the start of this mess was in 2015 going on with this generation, but like it's not sustainable. And we keep going back to Spider-Man 2. I even my dad, and we'll talk about this. I'll talk about this a little bit more in detail. My dad came over and we were playing Tomb Raider, and we got on talking about like video games and stuff. And I was like, yeah, and Spider-Man was $300 million, and he was like, he just couldn't compute that. He just was like looking at me. He's like, that's ridiculous. He was like, that is so stupid. So yeah, like we've kind of come to a place where it's like it's not sustainable. And like in that Grounded documentary, they're like, hey, we spent after Last of Us 2, before we got into our new thing that we're working on, like all hands on deck on this newest thing they're working on. They said before we did that, we spent like before we got into that, the first project was restructuring the entire company. And to like we're done with crunch, and we're like not making games of this like scale and scope and stuff right now. Like it's just over. So it's like, we're kind of on the death kill of like all that kind of stuff, which I'm happy about, because it's like I said with Last of Us 2, it's like we didn't need that game really to be that big to enjoy it, you know, and to these other games. And Spider-Man 2 doesn't need to be $300 million. It's like, what are we doing here? How do we cut this down? I don't know, but what's the answer?
Yeah, I look at it more as the fact that like it's a classic hardware company telling software companies what to do, and I have a hard time when you see like direction. Like for example, Last of Us, how long did it take? How long was it in development for? Do you even know the answer to that?
Last of Us
2.
So,
I mean, it wasn't announced directly after the first one, but I feel it was like a year or so.
I think it was right after Uncharted 4. It was right after Uncharted 4.
Okay.
It probably was in pre-production from the time that the first one ended, maybe a year after, and then it probably really picked up in 2015. Right?
The other problem they had is they had parts of their team doing that
5 years.
Lost Legacy. Yeah. So like people were split off, and then finally when that was done, they were able to like.
A common thing is that something isn't always in the same level of development. So it's in like the concept stage, while another game is in full on like dev pipeline mode. So like I would say full on dev pipeline was probably 2016 on, but people were still doing Lost Legacy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't maybe a 5-year development because it came out 2020.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. I don't think the layoffs are. If anything, the layoffs are sad. You don't ever want people to lose their jobs, but hopefully, just if anything, it sets up restructuring to help get this generation back on track.
Yeah.
In some shape
it's gone
or form.
off. I've never. I think I've never seen this to this level in all my time gaming.
It's all because of the industry model right now.
No, I don't agree. I think that there are problems in this industry, but you're seeing layoffs in all different tech industries.
Oh,
it's
everything.
It's not just gaming.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is you're seeing this. I mean, I work in the utility industry, and there are all these companies doing a lot of layoffs. What I would say is there's been a lot of consolidation.
Yeah.
So when company X buys 4 or 5 different competitors and puts it all under its umbrella, part of how you get the financing to make those deals is you tell the banks or your private equity investors, hey, we're buying these companies. They're each valued at this. So then when we add them under us, that's going to add to our overall value. But the numbers that they use to evaluate companies and value companies is kind of BS.
Oh, I mean,
it's kind of BS. And a lot of times what they're doing to make that work is they know in the back of their heads 2-3 years down the line, if not sooner, they're going to cut HR at these different companies and roll them all up through their own central HR. And so I think they're not saying who these layoffs are at some of these companies, but like London Studios closing for PlayStation. That's a whole studio. I bet some of the functions that are getting eliminated are functions that they're going to try to just do centrally as PlayStation. And it's like your HR, your accounting,
Yes.
your IT support, like the people that set up people's desks and workstations and all that. I think that's the kind of stuff that's getting, from what I can tell, a little bit of what some of this layoff
But that's
is.
that's like the restructuring part I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I think people are getting it a little wrong. I think that the games industry has gotten out of control with its budgets, but I see this in a lot of industries. I mean, like TikTok and Facebook and Google,
I think
all of these companies are laying people off hand over fist.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Not just gaming.
Yeah, I know that. That definitely is across the board generalized, like the whole economy. But everything that came out with like Xbox and them talking about like the growth's just not here and this and some of that is like everybody, they hired on a bunch of people specifically like in the tech industry too, especially with games, when everybody was stuck inside and they just they're like, oh, we have all this, and they just hired on like crazy. Capital was cheap and they just hired on these people, and then it's like now it's slowing down. So I know that part of it is kind of across the board. However, like with Game Pass, and then we'll get in this Xbox stuff with them like coming over to PlayStation, it's like I think there's like there's another layer that goes beyond generalized like businesses. Like you're saying, I agree with you, but like there's another layer where it's like the game industry is like, I've never seen it like this weird.
It is weird. It is weird.
It's also though, you talk about valuation, and I get what you're saying. Like when you look at, like a company's EBITDA, and you look at how they performed the past 3 years, because they always use the past 3 years as the company's current trademark. So once a year falls off, you can kind of gauge that company. The reason I just feel differently about it is because of all the acquisitions that happened this past year. And so I felt like that was a buying market. And so now, like, you see everyone, they went out and bought all these things, and like Microsoft did all those things. Microsoft doesn't care that they're going and hanging out with Sony, or even, heaven forbid, it'll never happen,
their long-term plan, they don't care.
They don't care. Yeah. What they want is dollars in. Like, it's just dollars in. They don't care about what their spend is. They just want to make sure dollars are coming into the Microsoft brand. So, like, I don't think the layoffs, like, yeah, that's terrible. But again, it's keeping dollars in Microsoft. It's keeping dollars in Sony. It's keeping dollars in the company. That way they can sit here and continue to show profit so they can continue buying things. Because they're going to want to buy more later.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to happen. And just not right now.
Phil wants to buy Nintendo. Wonder if he'll get that.
That would never happen.
Well, he said he's waiting on them to realize their future is off their hardware, and now his future is off of his hardware.
I want to tell you that we're going to jump into some more news, but my one hot take out of all of this is this: Nintendo is the most consistent gaming company.
Well, they again, a couple generations ago, and still even this generation, I've been annoyed at times of their hardware.
Yes,
they're always a generation behind.
They are
technically,
and they do not care.
But they have fun things. Like the Switch is extremely fun. It has like portable. You snap it in. They're like trendsetters. They do all this fun stuff. Like even 360 and PS3, they had motion. You know what I mean? Like everyone's trying to still follow them, but they are their own. When I think of like the console wars and stuff, I don't even really count Nintendo. I think they're in their own lane.
They are.
I think of I think of Sony and Microsoft. Really,
be honest with you, they're still a toy company almost.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing is, like, I try to explain to my friends, Sony and Microsoft, like, they produce these things at a loss. Yeah. Nintendo, they want to make money on their hardware, and they want to make money on their software, because that's how they stay in business.
Yeah.
They don't produce banger after banger after
banger. And they don't. And in this type of climate, they're thriving because their console's not that much.
I just went and bought Mario Kart. Yeah. It was still $60, and I was like, Mario Kart's $60, but it's Nintendo.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about this. Some of these PlayStation games I skip, and I'm like, I don't want this day one, and then I wait a few months, and then it's like it's free.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, glad
I know if I wait 1 month, it's $40 immediately.
Yeah.
Like, I know I can get it for $40 if I wait a month.
Well, and I saw a quote recently, and I think it was a Iwata. I don't remember who exactly it was, but they were asking about layoffs, and he said he's like, we don't like to lay people off because it makes the people that are still here feel like it lowers morale. So he's like, we try not to scale up really fast either. Like they try to stay even keel. So if it's a buyer's market like you described, Nintendo is not a private equity super hyper growth focused company.
No, they never will be.
That's not their ethos. They're more like, well, while everybody else is buying up, that doesn't mean that we have to do that too. And then in these lean times or these times where people are shedding, and whatever your opinion is of what they are or aren't doing,
correct.
They don't have to do that because they've also, they just have that equilibrium where they're balanced.
I retweeted something the other day, and it was during the Wii U era, which sucked for Nintendo.
Yep.
And Iwata took a huge pay cut, and he instead of doing like layoffs and stuff, and he was like, yeah, this is, we screwed up. And like he took, and I was just thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, if these.
But again,
that's like a unicorn, and that's sad.
Yeah.
But that's just why I think Nintendo is so consistent. But let's talk through Microsoft's wild situation here.
Yeah, so they had a kind of a PR carnival because leaks came out that said they are bringing games, possibly Starfield, this new Indiana Jones game.
Gears. I've seen people talk about Gears,
and basically, then at that point, your mind's racing. Is like Halo's coming to.
Basically, yeah, there was a podcast where some guy said this was happening, and then another guy was like, "I can confirm that," and this, and then The Verge. So all these outlets were piggybacking off of one another. Like, well, I was hearing this,
and at that point, it's like you got to say something quick because there's been other stuff where it's kind of crazy stuff, and Sony's put out a statement, or Microsoft at times, like. No, like that's not happening. You got to nip that in the bud. Mm-hmm. And instead, they said, "Hey, we're gonna talk about this."
They said nothing
soon.
For like
for a
4
while.
days, they said nothing.
And then they finally
said, Phil Spencer tweets, "We hear you and we're listening."
Gosh,
I don't know if he said that, but I always quote. I always say
we're listening and we're aware. And we'll talk next week when we have a business update.
And I'm like, you put out a press release, and that's what people said. I even watched the podcast because I was like, this is going to be boring and a waste of time.
Well, you're jumping ahead. He said we'll have a business update next week, and then nothing, no news, and
nothing came out.
Then it was a podcast, and it's ridiculous.
But you gave people not only those 4 days, but an additional week to stew and to get mad. And I made a TikTok. Follow us on TikTok. You get to see how I felt about it. I was not happy. What was happening with Microsoft. But yeah, I don't know what they were thinking, and I watched that podcast, and it was totally nothing. But what was funny was it said, well, here's the whole news of it. Was we're gonna bring 4 games, and it was Sea of Thieves, one that the insect game, Grounded, the insect game or whatever.
Yep.
And we'll bring these 4,
Rush.
and we'll see what happens. And I was like, okay, they're going to make money. Are you just not going to not do that? You know what I mean? So it's like,
well, it's just like
they're absolutely going to bring other games.
The biggest one out of all of them is Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is still a heavily played game on Microsoft, on Xbox in general, and so like that game going over is kind of a big deal. But it's just opening the box.
Yeah, and when I saw that, I was like, people are thinking that Halo's not coming to this, and all these other down the line, like it's not going to be tomorrow. But it's like we are in forward motion now. We are going to get the next big.
But now
it's just eventually on a PlayStation console.
At some point, you have to sit there and say, when did you kick yourself in the balls? And I'm just asking you, when did Microsoft kick themselves in the balls here?
I think they've had this strategy for a long time, and we're finally seeing. They've been telling us this for years.
Yeah, they have.
Because they've said we want Xbox on every screen.
Yeah,
that includes the PlayStation.
That's true.
So they have just finally, crap or get off the pot. They finally took a dump.
I think that their plan for a long time was they wanted Game Pass on everything.
Yeah,
and I think that the Activision merger and how nasty that got.
Yeah,
I think the lack of headway getting some kind of Game Pass on Switch, the complete lack of any ability to have anything with Sony. I think that they're realizing that. Instead of saying we want to get Game Pass on there, especially now that Sony's got their own PlayStation whatever subscription, I think that they're thinking, well, we got to get our games out there first, and then maybe that will create enough interest to get Game Pass.
And I think that's the thing. Sony kind of punched them in the mouth a little bit by allowing their games to get released on Steam on PC, and they may be older games, sure. I mean, yeah, but it's still a step forward. Where Microsoft, they've been doing that, and they've had their own little portal. But they have no other reach outside of their own Microsoft world. So, them jumping over to Sony will help. But at one point, I'm asking this, why would I ever buy an Xbox?
And that's what I keep seeing from a billion people online is that's the worry is well, if you kind of go down the line, it's well, then I'm just going to buy a PlayStation because I'll get all these games.
I don't get it makes sense now because you built the install base. I don't know why they rolled out They should have. This is the final generation of Xbox, probably. If not, this is the second to last. It's close to the end.
They did leak the. I was thinking through that because they did leak. Remember that console? So I think they've got one in the works.
It's close to the end because if you do this, I'm telling you right now, if I was an Xbox plebe, I'd be like, I can play all my games I normally play on Xbox and play Sony exclusives.
But I think they've got another plan. I think they have a plan. I think what they're gonna do, they're definitely not this gen, but next gen, maybe gen after. I think they want to do like a Steam box thing where you can just buy your own Xbox, like a platform or a box that can play the Xbox platform and have all these games.
But not
I think
only
that's what they're kind of maybe.
I think it's going to.
Oh shoot!
Jeez. I think it's going to be that, but I think it's going to have dual boot capability into Windows.
Yeah.
And then you get the Sony games on Steam.
Yeah. Oh.
So
didn't think about that.
You want to buy a PlayStation, or you could buy our Xbox. It's a Windows PC also, and you can get their games on Steam.
That's a good point.
And I think that's their counterpunch.
Yeah, their chess move. Because the thing is too, like we're talking about this, and it's like, why would they do this? But realistically, if you look, PlayStation has, like you said, like they're also dumping a lot of stuff and putting them on Steam. So I think everyone's just going to be doing that. I do wonder if one day Nintendo even does it, because now that PlayStation and Microsoft, do we see, anything's possible? I think
you
at this
can
point.
say
like,
that.
I don't think that they
You
would
don't think
see
they
that
ever
as,
will?
they would see that as devaluing.
I didn't think they'd ever
and
put mobile, but they did. They put their certain games on
that's a
mobile.
branch. That's like a branch.
That's not their main game.
Nintendo has one thing they have to do right now, and it's the Switch 2.
Yeah.
They're not going to put their stuff on another device like that.
Yeah, they're not going to.
I don't know.
Unless it's
nothing makes
unofficial
sense.
Lario coming out. It's never going to be anything.
Their ethos is just so our console has value.
Because
our
we have our
games
games
have
at
value.
value.
They're gonna put out the first Mario Brothers from Nintendo
They don't even
for $45.
They
on
don't
Steam.
even like porting out their. They don't even like porting their own games to
That's
their
true.
own systems.
We got to get them to. We got to
They
get them
don't
to
even
do that.
like putting that. We
Bro,
don't have Twilight Princess on the Switch.
Can we
That's
talk
true.
about this for a second? That stupid thing they did with the Nintendo Switch Online with their own ports is absolute trash.
What do you mean?
The Nintendo, the NES, the SNES.
I know a lot of people
and
that play it. I play
dude,
it.
They have not put anything of absolute. The fact we don't have the Pokemon games on the Game
Well,
Boy Color
they have
one.
a lot, but they don't have those because
Yeah.
it's not. That's not their. They don't own that.
You tell me you can't crap out 5 cents a game?
Game Freak
Whatever.
is not gonna let those.
Game Freak doesn't have anything going for them. Let them put the actual good games.
They announced
out.
a new Pokemon game today, didn't they?
They did announce it. It's under the Legends marker.
Oh.
So the same over Arceus.
Yeah,
It's under that same marker. I don't know what that means, but apparently it's a mixture of Luno City, which is X and Y, and Johto,
Ooh.
which is the two most hated on
Oh.
generations.
I didn't know that.
Well,
I didn't know that spiel.
is Sony so we're also kind of an interesting place with them where they are full on into their new
We had
multiplayer game almost focused strategy.
Yeah.
With like they announced at their last E3, I feel like every game was a multiplayer game except for Spider-Man, and now Spider-Man's out, so every Sony exclusive that is announced going forward is multiplayer.
Correct.
Every single PlayStation. So we got Helldivers. That's actually been really successful.
that's taken off.
I've been playing Helldivers.
So I know we had other news stories. We can always double back.
Yeah.
But you can work in.
Yeah.
How you're
How was that?
I have it installed and I haven't had a freaking chance to play it. 'cause of servers.
Helldivers is like such a simple, hilarious concept. Your Earth is in threat, or Milky Way is in danger, and we need you, Galactus Soldier, to go out there and fight the evil of the world, of the universe. And that's all it is. You boot in, and it makes fun of itself. It's super not serious, and they know it. And they're like, they don't care. And you basically are fighting giant bugs or giant robots. You pick, and you go out there and you call in nukes, and you run around with your friends, and
I just was seeing so many clips on TikTok, and I was like, yeah, this is a huge game this year.
Oh,
Like,
it's blown me. I have a bunch of my friends who are constantly asking, "Hey, you want to play Helldivers with me?" And I'm like, "Bro, you're like level 40. Like I can't play with you." Because every time I load in, he just nukes the entire map, and there's no one left for me to kill.
Every time, something I didn't know about this game that I'm curious how much you've gotten into this is it is a shared world in the terms of there's a whole galaxy. And like the developers are like unlocking planets for the community.
Yeah.
And then the community, it's almost like the old Star Wars Battlefront games where like once the community does so many missions on a planet, you take the planet. or the robots or whatever can take the planet back.
Correct.
So as like everybody playing the game, you're trying to take the planets.
That's cool.
and,
So what they do is they show you the number of people who are playing this mission,
yeah.
and it takes X amount percentage in order to claim victory.
So everybody's
wow.
trying to win, so that then you can all take the
That's
planet,
awesome.
and then but
you
it
can
is
lose
live,
the planet too, though.
you can lose planets, and then I saw something come out about like there's like new things, like they're unlocking planets that have things people haven't seen,
Mhm.
and they're like, what is this? Like, what
Yeah.
is this new thing on this planet?
Yeah,
And so-
currently they only have 2 sections of the whole entire universe unlocked, and there's a whole.
so it's cool.
Wait.
I've been
of
wanting
map.
to buy it. The time I was about to buy it, in all the cool clips I was seeing, I was also seeing 8 million stuck
Yeah.
trying to find server,
Yeah,
and I was
I-
like, if I pay 40 for this and I'm stuck, I'm gonna.
The time
be
I tried
upset.
to play, I had a free night, and I picked.
I was
it
like, I'll
up,
wait
and
for them to figure
I
this out.
sat for 30 minutes, and I
Yeah.
just like, I'll play something else.
Yeah, and I wasn't gonna do that, so I was like, I'm gonna buy it soon.
When you get it, I'm
They just-
Because
I
they're
got played
upgrading the
it.
They
servers.
just
They
did-
didn't, and
They just
I'm not
enrolled the
knocking
first
them.
batch. They didn't expect it.
That's what I'm saying.
to
I'm not
blow up.
knocking them because they weren't expecting the success. Once they figure the servers out, I'll be there. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I'm seeing a lot more people play it, but again, this is where Sony's like leaning into the live service model because again, the game is not.
but this
pay
is
to
kind
win.
of different.
It's not
It's
pay
still
to
live
win.
service. Yeah, it's $40.
It's
You
$40.
pay.
You get the game,
Yeah.
and then you get like you have 4 passes, but 2 of them are your level based passes. So as you level up, you just select what you want to buy off the pass, and you just get it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
what
I've
it is,
heard
you just buy
people
it.
are like, you don't have to buy the stuff. You can earn all this stuff pretty
You
easily.
can. You just have to play the game.
Yeah.
But then there's all the cosmetics, which they really lean heavily to because, man, they're really, really cool cosmetics. Like they,
Yeah.
I
they
heard
make it
you
look
could. The
awesome.
currency's pretty generous. Like
It
you
is.
can buy stuff with the
Mhm.
currency. You
Yeah.
get in the
And so
game.
that's why one of the passes is really cool. Is you upgrade your tactics, basically your ability to call things in, your weapons, all this stuff. The other one you upgrade more weapons, and the other ones you upgrade your ship.
Yeah.
And then the final pass is the cosmetic pass, which you literally spend money on. So you cannot spend money on anything that upgrades your anything that affects the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the money that you can spend, which is again, you're looking at this game coming out for $40. You have a collector's edition that came out for $80, and that you could have paid for. So now you make money on that, the sales, and then you make money on the cosmetics. Like you're already setting
I'm
yourself
wondering
up
if this
way
is-
better than Fortnite.
I did already see that Halo Infinite. It's like we're making a mode like Helldivers, and it's the same thing with like all these companies just jump on the current trend. But
Yeah,
this might be a good trend because it's maybe they'll start charging like more instead of doing these free to play games that are extremely hyper. Like you have to buy everything,
Dude,
and this game
okay,
doesn't seem like it's,
speaking of Foam Stars,
yeah.
I played maybe two.
Oh,
2
that
hours
one was
of it, 3
money.
hours of
Yeah.
it. It's free
oh, it
For
is?
free.
PlayStation Plus people.
for PlayStation Plus.
But you have to have that anyways to play.
I got in that store, and like each outfit is $46.
Oh my gosh.
And like I was appalled. I
Yeah.
was like, "This is insane to me." Like
Yeah.
like the cost of Helldivers is less than one outfit in
Yeah.
Foam
Did
Stars.
you get an outfit?
No, but I just think Sony's on this multiplayer thing, and so Foam Stars seems like it's.
I'm
kind
gonna
of
be
been a
really low
dud.
on this camera, and I just went high.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have like a little head at the
There we go.
beginning for a while. There we go.
So Foam Stars looks like it's kind of a wash. Helldivers, massive success. It'll be interesting to track. This isn't why I got into Sony, but I
Mhm.
am excited to check out Helldivers. And Herman Hulst had a quote today that was like, "Yeah, we're changing the way we make games, not just like financially, but it's just a different market now." And I don't know, man. Like I don't think that they're gonna be nearly as into the single player stuff. Like I'll be really surprised outside of maybe Last of Us 3. Like
But
what else are we gonna get?
the
from
hard
them?
thing about that, like they take longer to make, but if you think about the biggest games recently, it's Tears of the Kingdom, big single player. It's Elden Ring, big single player.
It's big to
Elden-
us.
Elden Ring was a multiplayer.
But those are God of War.
Experience.
it's
Big,
single player first.
God of War, like those Spider-Man. Those
RPGs.
those are huge games for them.
yeah,
Like
I'm just waiting until GTA 6. I don't care about anything else.
it'll be here soon.
I don't know. I'm not really. Helldivers is fun. I'm not hating on it. I think it's a really, really good game. There's not a lot that I'm like, oh yeah, this game sounds great. Can't wait
Yeah.
to play it.
Yeah,
I like
they
my
all,
single
but they
players.
also one last bit of the news was that they don't have anything till March 2025 of like a first party for Sony.
Oh yeah, because it's all Helldiver season.
They better be very thankful for Final Fantasy Rebirth,
Yeah,
which is a de facto.
that's a good exclusive
Exclusive, right?
timed
It
exclusive.
might as well be first party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's yeah, we're just in a weird time. Weird stuff.
March
But-
2025 is a year from now.
Yeah.
Which means we could be getting the Switch a year from now. The Switch
And
2.
we might be, because that was supposed to be coming out this holiday, is what I keep hearing. This is the newest lots of news. That's supposed to come out this holiday, and then there's rumors. A lot of people were saying that was going to come out, and then they want to. I don't believe this part. They don't want scalpers. They don't freaking care, but they just want sales. But they were like, we're going to push it back till March.
I'm glad they did this.
March of next year.
I'm very
to make
glad
sure they had
did
enough
that.
more supply.
And that's how the Switch came out, was in March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked that you could get it. You could get out there. You could get your request. You could get it.
Mhm.
And then there's another wave in the holidays.
They
I think
kept-
releasing a console in the holidays is awful.
It's crazy.
dirt-
Yeah, you have to
it's dirt
fight.
Baggy. It's dirt baggy.
It's always fun, but yeah,
It's
a lot
not
of people.
fun. It's
It
terrible.
was always fun for me.
Think about the Wii.
I like.
You remember the Wii? The
yeah,
Wii
it
was,
was a nightmare.
bloodshed.
Yeah,
Way worse than anything else.
yeah. You had to kill people. To
Yeah,
get it.
you did. You had to kill
I
people.
killed 4 people
I guess
for
I've
the
been
Wii.
lucky. The PS5 and the Switch are my only day ones. And
Yeah, PS5 fell in my lap. Literally. I
that
didn't
was
have
like
to pay a
summer,
dime.
right? PS5. I am so glad I got a PS5 at launch.
PS5
Oh my
was
God.
November of 2020.
Was it November?
Yeah.
I'm happy they're pushing it back. I'm just again, I love Nintendo.
I was kind of wanting it this year though.
I
just
love
being
Nintendo. I have not played a Nintendo game since Tears of the Kingdom,
Mhm.
and I will not be playing a Nintendo game until the Switch 2 comes out.
We might, and if they push it back, you got to get Metroid Prime 4 on
well,
there day one.
For the love of
Please,
God,
let's
like
figure that out.
they haven't. No, that thing's on back order. Like it's not even thought about.
They've
right
had
now.
enough time though. It's been
Are they
4.
even working on it?
They rebooted it, but it's been 4 years since the reboot. 4 or 5
I thought
years.
they. I
So
thought.
I
hold on,
remember
correct me-
that like it was yesterday.
Travis,
Yeah.
That was
correct me if
4
I'm
When they
wrong,
rebooted
didn't
it, I was
scrap
like,
the
it's
whole
never
team
coming
for
out.
it?
They did after 3 years of development,
Yes.
but that was 4 years ago, Jacob, apparently. So
Yeah.
Oh my!
I think you
gosh.
guys were living together.
that reboot was 4 years ago.
I feel
And they
like,
scrapped the team. Oh, dude, we are not good at that game, dude.
yeah.
We had better luck getting Earthbound Remastered before we get that.
Well, I think it's ready to come out.
Earthbound Remastered?
No,
Oh.
Metroid Prime 4.
No, I don't care about that.
Um,
Earthbound Remastered, dude.
But yeah, that's the newest news
Why
of
have
that.
we not done that yet?
And also, man, the news keeps coming. Before we started today,
oh yeah, this is big.
they are going out. They're going to war. There's a console war going on, and there's a Nintendo war going on against emulation.
Nintendo's done this before.
I don't think they.
They've
Have they?
issued cease and desists on a lot of projects, like fan made projects
Yeah,
and stuff like that. But
this
there's
seems
a reason
bigger.
why.
This seemed bigger.
Well, it's because it's Yuzu is the
Yeah.
Switch platform for emulation.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that,
so they're
Steam
suing
promoted it.
So they're suing Yuzu.
Yuzu, yeah.
And they want to
What are they
issue
doing?
basically a cease and desist. They want them to pull it
Yuzu.
down, and they want them to pay back money they believe they've lost because of Yuzu.
For damages.
Yes,
Because
Do-
I
do
did
they have
laugh.
a
I did
leg
laugh
to
on-
stand on.
they had tweets in the.
Now here's the thing: they don't, but they're not going to win this because, like you are right, they have done stuff like this before, and also it's the freaking ROMs and stuff are the
Yep.
problems if you're hosting them, but the actual platform like emulation is not illegal.
It's not.
That's not illegal.
And
So this is just
Yuzu-
a strategy,
e-
just to kind of
every time you boot up Yuzu, they specifically give you directions on how to dump your stuff,
yeah.
not how to download anything. They tell you
Yeah.
it's open source. They tell you all these things that like I feel like they
Now
have a lawyer.
where they're probably annoyed though is their Patreon, because close to when like Tears of the Kingdom came out, they like had a boost in like donations because they knew that
Oh.
was coming and people really wanted that to actually work right, like I did. But they are also saying that in like the documents and stuff. I kind of skimmed through it, and they were like that. They also were mad at them that they were a part of spoiling Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep.
It's like what this emulation platform was, but yeah, I think they're just trying to sue them into oblivion to where they just don't exist. I don't
exist anymore.
that they can't pay the court fees.
The
is
issue
what-
is
but like if a lot of people are doing the Patreon, if we all like donate, I think they're going
it's
to
like
be
Pirate
they
Bay.
can weather
Once
the
one ship goes down,
weather
there's
the storm.
20 more waiting the day gets
Yeah.
placed. Like you can sit here and do this, but all you're doing is you're going to see another one pop up, much like anything else.
yeah.
At the end of the day, Nintendo has to accept the fact that we have our what's the word you used? Ethos.
Yeah, our ethos.
Ethos. That's a good word. That's the word of the day. For
That
me.
is the word of the
we'll use that in
podcast.
Scrabble later. But they have their ethos, and they're like, we have to stick to it, and whatever anyone else does.
I've
outside of
loved
it,
Yuzu this gen Because screw the Switch at this later half. Oh my gosh,
Bro,
720 on my 4K television. I'm not doing it.
I boot up Pokemon Violet on Yuzu yesterday.
Yeah.
And I looked at this game. I was like, this is what 30 frames looks like because you can't put it in 60. The game is coded where you can't put it in 60.
Even when Yuzu.
Even on Yuzu, someone has to create a hack in order to get it to do it. So I'm watching this game and I'm like, this game looks terrible. And I was like, this game truly was made for just the Switch and the Switch alone.
Yeah, but I've had so much fun playing through stuff. I played through the freaking Mario Wonder. Sorry, Nintendo. Sue me. I don't have a Patreon. Put up a Patreon. So
on an Xbox controller. Every screen is an Xbox.
Yeah, you played on an Xbox.
I did play it on an
controller.
Xbox. It's just more easy for it to jump in.
Oh my gosh.
But thank you,
that was
Yuzu.
legit.
Thank you, Yuzu. No, that was definitely.
The 1080.
they teamed up for that.
The 1080p 60 frame Switch 2 is going to be great.
Yes. Just give me 1080p. I don't even need 4K Switch 2. But if it's not 1080p, I'm getting Ye3 instead of
If
Yuzu.
it's 900p,
I'm getting U2.
900p.
Then I'm getting U2.
900 by 600p.
Yuzu 2.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure.
Oh shoot, that's Nintendo coming
Is
right
the
now.
Steam Deck 1080p?
No.
No.
No,
So why are we assuming that
It's a step
Switch-
above 720. It's like a few
It's
steps.
900p.
Yeah.
the
No,
Steam
I
Deck
need
is 900.
1080p. I'm
Bro,
not.
The Steam Deck's not even 1080p.
Then they better.
I think you're getting 900p.
Then I'm.
Hey, you're using it to the.
But
death.
here's the thing, why that dock? Okay, 900p on the freaking thing, on the
actual
handheld. I don't
handheld.
care if it's still 720p on the handheld. That's fine.
No.
I played through Tears of the Kingdom and that did not bother me on the handheld.
No.
But on the when
it's
it docks,
2024.
when it
When the Switch docks, it's 1080p,
okay.
right?
Yes.
do what?
When
Yes.
the Switch docks, it's 1080p.
Yes.
But it ran badly. The Tears of the Kingdom. I got used to it, but I wish I would have had the Yuzu capabilities to
Or is it
play on that.
720p?
It's set. No, it's 10. You can switch between the
I think
two.
it's
but
720p.
1080p. No, docked is
1080.
1080.
It's 1080.
Outside of it's 720.
But then there was also a lot that Xenoblade or not Xenoblade. Yeah, I think it was.
Whenever people say 4K Switch, I'm like, you're living in your
Yeah,
dream.
that-
I just
no
want.
way.
But why can't I put it into the dock and that
The
superpowers
issue
it?
is-
Super power up to 1080p at
Here's
least.
my hope. You want my honest hope?
Boost me.
NVIDIA is really good at this whole anti-aliasing stuff and super sampling.
Yeah,
We don't even get true 4K in the PS5. Let's be
they
honest.
DLSS it.
Maybe we get that.
Do
Maybe
that where they upscale it.
you get that. But
Come on.
even then, that's still hardware that Nintendo doesn't like investing in.
Ugh.
So I'm just saying,
Ugh.
you may not even get that, but
I don't even want this thing anymore.
it might be the truth.
Okay, is it going to be gimmick or no gimmick?
I don't think a gimmick. I think it's going to be a 3DS situation, like a DS to 3DS, where it's close enough. That was a gimmick with the 3DS.
There's going to be
with the 3D.
something.
There's going to be something,
But
but
there won't be a thumbstick on this thing.
but I think it's going to be just still in the same orbit of the Switch because that thing just took off or whatever. I think it'll be in the same.
What's it
thing.
going to be called? I don't think it'll be called Switch 2. It's gonna be
Re-switch.
Switch it up.
Switch it up. Switch it up.
And then every presentation, switch it up. They're gonna do their little snap. They're gonna
Switch
snap
it
their
up,
fingers.
and then they go boop, and another screen pops up.
Oh, it's a
shit.
gimmick. Hey,
Yeah, what if they show it looks like a Switch, and they press a button, and it's a second screen?
Okay,
hold
that'd
on.
be sick.
Hey, the bottom screen's 720, the top's 1080p.
Okay, at least I
And
got
then
half
when
of what
you
I
play on
wanted.
the TV, you hold it like the Wii U.
Oh my gosh.
There we go.
Hey,
Hey, what if
Hey,
that actually
we're gonna look
happens?
back. We're gonna look back.
We're
we
gonna get a
predicted it.
cease and desist.
Switch it up.
We're gonna say we found out from Yuzu.
Yeah, Yuzu
Hey,
told
but
us.
that's the kind of thing that would happen.
Yeah.
With them.
Hey, we lose our minds though. It would be. The
Oh,
coolest
yeah,
thing.
Oh
we-
yeah,
we-
the
dude.
presentation would be in the chat with all a
We'd
bunch of
be
capital
losing our
letters. Like, oh
minds.
my gosh, I'm getting a stay one. We're gonna be
Gosh.
doing that.
Mate, see, that's why Nintendo's
You'd be like,
consistent.
look, Sander.
Look.
Oh man,
cool.
I love it. You know, Final Fantasy VII's not coming out on the Switch,
No,
but that's
But
okay.
That's okay.
that's okay.
That's perfectly
Ain't
fine.
nobody needs to see that. I'm pumped.
I'm pumped.
I'm
I
really
haven't
excited.
seen. I haven't seen really anything. I watched through. I did watch through a playthrough of the original one on PS1, and I looked up. I was like, because I don't want to spoil anything, but I did want to know how far is this one to go in the story of Final Fantasy VII?
Have they said?
Yeah, I found an article that they gave an interview or whatever, and this one is going up to City of Ancients in the original PS1 game.
Is that?
But they did say
disc 2 or disc 1?
I don't remember. I just watched the playthrough on YouTube up
And
to
it
that
just
point,
kinda
and
got
then I
you.
stopped. So, but what is interesting, they also said in the interview, said, hey, it goes up to that point in the game, but you may notice some stuff out of order, and some stuff that is like places you visit after that point are like moved up. So they're gonna do some stuff out of order, but like story wise, that's kind of like where you're going to in this game.
Yeah, I'm just excited to play it.
So I'm extremely excited. This is my most anticipated game. And then the reviews came out, and I was kind of expecting like 83s, 84s and stuff. And this got higher than the first one.
Yeah.
And people are freaking loving it. And I'm like, oh, like I'm
like.
I mean, I have a whole
90s, like
freaking part of my
mid-90s.
basement is for figures. For this game.
You're locking yourself away for a couple days.
Oh
aren't you?
yeah, I'm definitely locking myself away for this game. So really excited.
Passes the hype check.
I do wanna say, watching that playthrough, one funny thing. When you go to the gold saucer area,
Mm-hmm.
there's like a main boss of that guy, or like the main owner of the gold saucer or whatever. And he comes up on the screen. I totally forgot about this. It's just a naked guy with yellow underwear. He's a big buff guy. And I'm like, I'm so excited to see what they do in Rebirth. Like, because that was what was fun in the remake, was they had to make fun of themselves. There's a boss in that little arena place.
I know what you're talking about.
And they're like, is that a house? We're finding a house? You know what I mean? Because that was in the original. So I think they're going to have to do a similar thing. This guy is in yellow underwear.
They know the
just coming
charm. They know what to do. The first one gives me full confidence they know what they're doing.
But
You've never played the original. Right?
No.
There's a point in that when that guy is there where something else happens in the gold saucer. Spoiler alert for the original game. You walk into this place and they're like, oh yeah, there's some guy shut up this whole area, like killed all these people. And then that guy waltzes in his underwear, and it's like a serious scene. I'm like, how is that going to transfer? Every time they've transferred stuff, it's been amazing from the original PS1. So that is going to be really cool.
I remember that was a big concern going into the original remake of 7. It's like, how are you going to do
this part or that
and
part?
And it says
loved
a
it.
lot about how good they did in the first one that hasn't even crossed my mind leading up to this.
Yeah.
one. I'm all in.
Well, rewatching this is like, now I'm thinking of new ways. Like, how is that going to work? Like, how are they going to do that? So
I'm very excited. I need to sit down and go through like the story to refresh, like you just said you did.
I'm sure they'll have something in the beginning that again,
you don't have to play that original. I just like it for the fact of like, how are they going to do that, and how's the music going to sound?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Want the vibe
I want to
stuff.
revisit how that all looked. Not because I'm worried I won't know what's going on. More just, I just liked. I had recently redone Final Fantasy VII when the remake came out, so I just like those comparison points.
Yeah.
But
looking forward to that. That's my most anticipated game.
I will
Coming
say
out
though, I was looking at a walkthrough of Final Fantasy VII, and there's 3 discs on that game, and the 3rd disc isn't very long. But I was going back and I looked at the Midgar stuff is like 6 chapters on like this walkthrough.
Yeah.
There are another like 19 chapters on disc 1 of that game.
Yeah.
And then I looked at disc 2 is like the same length, and I was looking at it because I was showing it to my wife and I was explaining, and she was like, "That's gonna all be in 3 games," because it was like this was the first game, and then it's this and this. Are you confident that they're gonna get this done in 3 games?
Well, yeah, because I think they're going to condense and take those main beats, and I think they have it.
Yeah.
I think because watching this playthrough, I noticed stuff where it's like they're just running through, and you got to think too, like the random battles took way longer. That was the.
I'm just talking locations, but I think part of what'll help this one is this one seems borderline like open.
Yeah.
Open, like you're gonna be here and here and here.
Yeah.
And this kind of thing. So I don't know.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, check it out.
Speaking of Final Fantasy, I don't know why I played Intermission.
Yeah.
And I liked it. And then there's this kind of in between where we've been waiting on Rebirth. So I picked up I tried to pick up my playthrough of Final Fantasy VIII that I abandoned.
So you come back like 5 years later, and
I don't ever like typically restart. If I have a save file, I'm pretty.
I can't do that.
I'm pretty adamant, like I'm not wasting my time. But
yeah, where am I?
on 8, I was desperately needing a reboot because that game has very complex stuff going on, like systemically. So, but I'm playing through Final Fantasy VIII. I'm at the end of disc 2, and there's 4 discs. That game. Have you ever played Final Fantasy VIII?
No.
That game. I just got to a pretty pivotal thing. You don't care if I
I don't
about
give
the
a
story,
rip.
and you've played this
I
game.
beat it. Yeah.
This game has been very weird for me, where I'm having fun with it and I'm really enjoying it, but the story is borderline like untranslated. Like, it actually makes no sense, and I just hit some pretty key story stuff just now where
I'm wondering what you got. Well, spoiler alert for Final Fantasy.
I'm gonna just open spoilers.
Tell me,
for the
tell me
middle of
where
this
you're
game.
at, because I wonder if you got to this part yet.
Well, you're part of basically like this Hogwarts for magic kind of soldier school, and you're like with these other kids, and you're doing this stuff, and it's just like weird. Like, you're in this school, and then the headmaster isn't. You leave and you come back, and he's in a fight with some other guy, and you go down the basement. There's this big giant blob guy in like a metal tube that's like the real headmaster of the school, and I'm like, this is just weird.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good or bad. It's just weird. And the characters are just kind of awkward teenagers, but they're not characterized in a very clear way, where people just have weird motivations and say weird things.
Yeah.
But I got to this part today.
I wonder if you got to the part I'm thinking.
We were like, let's go to this place where this school got destroyed, and we go, and this girl's like, I'm going in, and she goes in, and there's like 6 people in your party, and they're like, okay, well, go meet me at the basketball court. So I'm like, okay, I go to the basketball court. We're sitting at the basketball court, we're talking. And then the girl that was in our party comes up. She says, okay, yeah, and this is sad that the school got destroyed. And this kid at my party is like, yeah, it reminds me when I was a kid at this orphanage, this stone orphanage, this made out of stone.
This is it.
This happened one time. And this girl said, yeah, the stone orphanage? I know that orphanage. I was there too. He's like, yeah, and we set up the fireworks. She's, yeah, I was there. And this other girl says, you said fireworks. Hold on.
I remember the fireworks too.
I remember the fireworks too. Hold on. You were there? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was there. Yeah, you're little Zell. You're little Zell. I remember you, little Zell. And yeah, you're little feisty selfie.
Mind you, they've been with each other for
They've been with each other for 20 hours.
Forever.
It's like, yeah, I remember the fireworks. And you know what? Seifer, he was there too, actually. Yeah, he was there. And then your character starts having flashbacks and seeing them all as little kids. And like basically your entire party, all 6 of you
We're orphans.
were orphans at the same orphanage.
Yeah.
And like they retcon this kid's like, yeah, like my parents, they adopted me. I forgot. And like
yeah, they all 6 like forget.
They all
How do you
forgot
forget that?
and they all remember at the same time. And it's not even like something happens that triggers the
They're at a
memory.
basketball court.
They're just sitting at a basketball court, and
sucks.
it's mentioned, and it is really crappy.
It's very funny.
And I will say, you equip these guardian forces, and that's how you use magic. And so they start to say, I wonder if that's why we've been losing our memories. And like, would Headmaster Sid make us do this if it make us lose our memories? And this guy's like, yeah, I think I saw that in the paper, that these things make you lose your memories. Like, they speed run with no foreshadowing this idea.
They just tell all these plot points.
It could have been executed better, immensely better. And it's just
Isn't there
stupid.
a part in that game, I think you've got to this, where they're trying to snipe somebody?
Yeah. It was actually cool.
That was a cool part of the game.
And there are cool sequences. You're trying to snipe the
sequences.
sorceress. And like there's this whole mission where you're trying to capture her inside of this fountain thing and shoot her. So like, I'm having fun with it, but it's
weird.
It is a weird game. And so I did a little bit of a deep dive on the development of this game. And Hironobu Sakaguchi, he directed the first 5, and then 6 was the first one he produced. He produced 6, and he produced 7. 8 is the first time he's executive producer. And I was doing a deep dive. I was watching this podcast where they just in gory detail. It's those guys. You know what I'm talking about? And it is like 2 hours on like development history before they even talk about the game. And so I'm watching this and learning about it, and there was a divide with 7. Sakaguchi produced it, and another guy directed it. But there was this growing divide where there was this younger crew, and Tetsuya Nomura was part of this younger crew. They wanted to take Final Fantasy in one direction, and Sakaguchi wanted to keep it in his direction. And he finally, after the success of 7, they realized they needed to get more games going. And Sakaguchi said, look, you guys take 8, and I'll make 9. And you do, to your heart's content, whatever you want to do. and you can see
their output during that time is crazy.
Yeah.
They had 8, 9, 10, like one after the other.
And
it was
and
crazy.
it was annual, and you can see like what they were going for. But I will say this version, this Kitase directed 8, Kitase's vision of Final Fantasy is much more like kind of melodramatic, and it's much more trying to lean into like weird, military, weird like like think about 8. And I've not played 10, but 10 and 13, like those are the Kitase games.
Mhm.
And so it's just interesting having played the other ones. I played 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, and now I'm on 8. It's a different vision of what Final Fantasy should be. And even Kingdom Hearts is kind of a branch off of that branch. And so I'm kind of taking it at face value. It kind of fell apart like their first attempt. I'm glad though that Sakaguchi let them do it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. This feels to me like a game that had to have had development troubles. But it doesn't seem like it had troubles. It just seemed
Maybe
like
exactly
they
as planned.
could not pull it all. It went exactly as planned. But
that was
like,
the issue.
This was your plan? Was to just have this be announced?
Maybe there was
in
no
the middle?
developmental issues.
So it's made me really appreciate Sakaguchi, and I'm looking forward to 9. And, 15, 13, 8, and 10 are all part of this guy's lineage, this Kitase guy. And so I'm just kind of like, I'm interested as I get into more. I know you really like 10 and 13 is
and 9 is
mixed.
cool. It's just I can't remember. It's not as memorable as any of the other games for me personally.
But
it's a very fun game. I think it's fun.
But I will say I'm having fun with the junction system. It is a system where you're kind of like, I would rather chop my leg off, or like what would I rather do? Because you have to collect all these magic in your stock.
Yeah,
like you draw magic out of the enemies. But then you junction that magic, like you say, I want my health to be tied to my fire spells. So the more fire spells I have, the better my health is.
Okay.
But then you don't want to use your fire spells.
Yeah, because then you lose your health.
Because then you lose your health. And so, like, I will say I'm going up against bosses. At first it was very easy, but now it's getting harder, and I actually have to make decisions. I think that there's potential in that system. It's just it's an awkward game. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
But I'm having fun with it, and it's been a nice kind of hold me over. Great soundtrack. Oh my god.
Yeah,
like
amazing soundtrack. One of the best.
I will say amazing cinematics. Like when you get to these cinematic sections where it's like the sniping section, or there's a parade at one point. There's a big battle on the beach that is amazing. I will say the other thing that every other Final Fantasy does well that this one doesn't is the hook. What happens at the beginning of the game? Like 7, you're blowing up the reactor. 6, you're in those big mechs and you're fighting that town. 4, you're going as Cecil and you're killing these people and you're like the Dark Knight taking over the town. 8 opens with this cool montage that's like an intro cutscene, and then you wake up in like a bed and you go to class, and like it is 2 hours before you get to a battle that have any significance. And you can just tell it just is not the same head guy behind it.
8 and 9 was PlayStation 1, right?
Yeah.
And 7. 7, 8,
Yeah, I know 7, 8, and 9 were PlayStation 1. 10 was the first PlayStation 2 jump. I got it.
But I'm liking it, but it's a weird game.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
That's fair.
We got to see Death Stranding 2.
Yeah, we did.
Man.
That
trailer was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. Those hands, there's like tech that's just these hands
on her neck.
And like the first time you see him, it's like the
neck.
mask is these hands and they're covering up for her while they do this kind of dissection of this body or whatever. But
they're like a necklace.
Immediately I just was like, oh, it all comes back to you. Like he'll go away for years, Kojima, and then when he comes back and you see stuff like this, it's like he's the best. Like,
yeah, he's the best.
When I see that and even Death Stranding, as much as I didn't, I liked Metal Gear Solid 5 more and it had more replayability. I was done with Death Stranding when I was done with it. That world is the biggest, like, best sci-fi lore, everything going on I've ever seen in any medium, ever. And
it's
even in
so
this,
unique.
Yes,
it's not derivative
you
in
don't
any
know,
way.
Yeah, you don't know what you're looking at to create something that original and so like cool. Is just, I loved it. So yes, he has those hand things. It helps her like light a cigarette at one point. I was laughing watching the trailer. I was just cackling when they had that puppet on the side, and it was like, he wants to go with you. He wants to go with you, Sam.
It's a little like stop motion.
It's like and I love the animation of it. It's like stop motion. in this world that's not stop motion. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So, but what's been really funny too, I think the whole trailer, it was so imaginative and cool, but also funny because you had Troy Baker back as Higgs, but he has a guitar and that's his weapon.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I was cracking up at the quote he said because it was going into Death Stranding. They kept talking all the interviews with Kojima. Yeah, we want to, it's ropes and sticks, and we want to focus more on ropes. Like you're guiding people. And that's what he did with Death Stranding. You're like helping each other, and you're building building things that other people can use online. And then he takes something. He's like, traded in your rope for a stick. Yep. And I'm like, they're bringing back fighting. Like this one, you are going to be fighting more, which I think is going to be cool because that was one thing that was kind of missing from Death Stranding 1 was like when you would fight, it was kind of more awkward. You know what I mean?
It
wasn't built
as well.
Yeah, it wasn't built for that. Whereas Metal Gear Solid 5 definitely was. So I hope to shoot some more stuff.
I do too, and
I want to trade in my rope for a stick this time.
There were some crazy sequences with like the moon and like these big red phantom things and
big walking. Like, I loved it.
I'm all in.
That is day one. I'm getting that collector's edition. Now I put in the group chat because last time I was right. It was the baby. I was like, I bet the baby's gonna be collector's edition. This time it's gonna be that guitar or it's gonna be that freaking puppet. I think it's gonna be the puppet.
It might be the hands.
Could be the hand
shoot!
necklace.
Yeah, it's either the hands, the guitar, or the.
I
hope it's
I
the
saw
hands.
Kojima. He gave a quote. Someone asked.
I'll put them around my neck while I play.
Someone asked about the hands, and he was like, "The hands kind of have their own motivations." That's what he said. And then someone was like, "Well, what if that's like something on her neck and like it controls her and chokes her if she doesn't do what that they want him to do?" And like he's like they're friendly but not always.
Could be like
something.
the DSS choker from.
Yeah, it could be the DSS choker.
Yeah.
I didn't like Death Stranding, so whatever. Everyone teaches their own. You know what I do like?
What?
I did like Helldivers, but I'm playing Rust. You guys ever played Rust?
Isn't that where you like have to proximity chat and yell at people and steal stuff?
You ever
from
seen the funny videos?
Yeah,
people,
that's all I know about them.
Yeah.
Is like people cussing people out.
The game was created a while ago, but it has the one goal is survive.
Yeah.
You just survive. That's your goal. So you boot into a server, and they have things called wipes. So basically, after every week, the whole server wipes. Everyone starts brand new.
Okay.
So basically, you could join it on Monday. Server wipes.
That's actually really cool.
You build up a giant base, and you're like, oh, yeah, I rule the server. Well, you don't get to rule the server the entire lifetime of it. It has a retirement period.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
So even though you build up this giant base.
Great marketing on their part.
You can get smacked back down, and you have to restart all over again. And I was like, well, no wonder this game's been so popular for so long. Because there's still thousands. I mean, it's like I think when I looked, it was the 6th most concurrent played game on Steam still.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna give this game a go. Finally, I've had it forever.
It seems like your kind of game.
You
just troll people and you get into trouble.
I like trolling people. I don't
like
Dark Souls for a reason. I don't like losing my progress.
Yeah.
And not be able to go back. And when someone does it to me that I can like talk to live, it's a terrible mix.
Yeah.
So I put 30 hours into Rust last week. I played this while I was off and on working, and I met 2 guys from Sweden who we joined up in a party, and they protected me for a little bit, and then I got raided, and I came back, and they kicked me out of the party when I got raided. And basically, my base got blown up. These guys came after me, and they kept sniffing in the mic. They go like this, and while they were shooting, while they were shooting rockets at me, and so I was just like,
I've seen clips when they want to get in your base. People sniffing.
Yeah, so I'm just
like,
standing up. I built this 3-tiered base. I honeycombed it to where I had like fake walls on the outside, so if they didn't shoot right, they could waste their rockets. It did nothing. They got right through, took all my stuff, killed me, and so I sat there. I was like, I spent 30 hours on this dang game, and they took it all. Like,
That's
so
brutal.
Like, I was like, I don't want to play this again. And then today's wipe day, so I started playing again today.
I don't play this game. Okay, I'm back.
But I have no allies. I'm not friends with the Swedens, and I haven't ran into them yet. But I took a new approach to this game. And any of you guys, if you're Rust fans, tell me what you think. I was determined. Every time you start Rust, you start 2 ways: naked and on a beach.
Oh, Death Stranding.
That's how you spawn. You spawn naked and on a beach. So I spawned in, and I had a goal for this wipe, and this is my goal. I'm going to play the entire wipe out of a tugboat. So I went and found a tugboat, and because there's a thing in this game where it's a giant boat, and you can build a base inside of the tugboat. So I'm living inside of a boat, and I'm so far out of the map that I despawn. Like, my boat goes underwater, but it's not really underwater, so people can't find me unless you go all the way out of the map and go looking for me. So whenever I go to log off for the night, I just take my tugboat and I just drive it all the way out of the map, and then I log off and the boat just right in the water. But if anyone ever drives out there, they'll find there's a base that's cooking a lot of sulfur right now, and I don't want them to find me.
When you log out, does your person just stay right where they are?
They go to sleep in their bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can get killed in your sleep?
Yes. It's called an offline raid.
And
it's not fun.
And your base is underwater, basically.
Well, mine right now
because you're in the
yes.
ship.
Do you get like a recap of what happened?
You can. It's called Rust Plus, which I do have now. I get notifications when
everything's get a subscription.
Oh, no. It's free. And what you do is it's actually a really cool thing. You only unlock Rust Plus when you unlock electronic components in your base. Basically alarms.
Rust Plus is cracking me up.
So I put alarms in my base. So I found out I was getting raided in my first base because I had monitors. And I got a notification. I was sitting on my couch. It was like 4 p.m. And I got a notification. Your base is getting raided. And I was like, no way. So I go online and I just hear sniffing. And I was like, what are you guys doing? Oh, okay. So I get a gun. I try to shoot them from the top of my base. They just kill me. And that's why I get stuck in a spawn loop. And I was like, yeah, my base is wiped. But I created monitors because I wanted to avoid that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get offline because if you make people mad, very rarely will they online raid you because you lose so much if you get killed. You lose rockets and C4s, and it's hard to get explosives in this game. So, like, you want to raid at the most opportune time.
Yeah.
And that's when people log off.
Yeah.
And so they'll assign clans. I'm learning a lot about this. The people who raided me, they had 4 players. And they literally had a guy sitting on top of the mountain, because you can log back in Rust Plus and watch it happen. The guy was logging on, he had a sniper, and he was just watching me run around the base for like 30 minutes.
Oh, he's stalking you.
Oh, no, he wasn't talking. He was just watching me, telling his clanmates what I'm doing. So from the moment I went upstairs and I didn't move around for a while, that's when they all came running over.
Oh, my gosh.
They were waiting and for me to log off.
How often do they wipe this server?
Once I'm on a weekly server. So they wipe once a week. Now, there's monthly servers.
It's like somebody watching your house, dude.
Yeah,
they
there's
know
monthly
when you go on
servers and there's
vacation.
weekly servers.
It's like they're watching your Facebook
but
to
that's
see
what
your
it was.
vacation photos.
Dude, so I log in, and I'm like,
they're watching on Rust Plus.
I don't know what to do. This sucks. So I waited for wipe day. So now I booted in. I got the greatest start, and I have a boat now, and life's okay. I'm doing okay. I'm gonna make it through this wipe without getting raided, I think. The number one plus of this game, which I know I've been talking about for a minute, but I'm really liking it. It's itching the Call of Duty itch I have, but not really. It's like the PvP side of it. You get a thing called a research tree, and you earn research by like studying things, and you can unlock it for future wipes. So if I research a gun, in the next wipe, I can now build the gun earlier instead of having
like
to
in
do
a
it
rogue, like when they let you carry over some.
So
progress.
it's kind of like Dark Souls.
Okay.
But not Dark Souls.
Okay. Sounds like you're a Dark Souls fan.
No, I'm not. I hate Dark Souls.
Dark Souls Plus, you might like that.
Yeah. No, probably not. So I want to see what happens. Hopefully I don't get killed. I haven't made any friends this wipe. I've actually been very annoying. But my plan is I want to raid somebody. I want to raid someone this wipe. I want to try it. I want to figure out if I can do it and do it well.
That's
but
fun.
I'm trying to get sulfur cooked up so I can get some boom. So if you're any Rust fans, any Rust heads.
Any Rush heads? Rust heads?
Rust heads.
Rust Plus heads?
Drop it in the comments. I need help when I get
got
raided.
Walmart Plus, you got Rust
Dude,
Plus.
the Swedens didn't even help me when I got raided. Like
wow.
they were out
That's
like
so
farming.
like the Swedish, huh?
They really they sat on the fence.
Very neutral.
They sniff you out.
Hey, he added me on Steam though. He hasn't talked to me since I got kicked out of the server, but he did add me on Steam.
Okay.
His name was Dan. Dan, if you're there.
Dan, if you're
I needed your help, man. I needed your help. One of the other games I'm playing, Ready or Not. I don't know if you guys heard this game. It's a tactical game.
No.
Tactical shooter.
I did hear about this, yeah.
So basically, you're a SWAT
on
policeman,
Steam?
and there's stories you unlock, and you're
Is this
part
on
of.
Steam?
Yes, it's on Steam.
Okay.
It's on Steam, and you unlock like patrol missions,
Mm-hmm.
and you up to 1 to 4 people can join your squad, and it's very realistic shooter. Like one shot, you go down, you need help, you can get shot in the arm and not be able to use the arm anymore.
Oh, is this the Yeah, you can
Yeah.
get killed really easily.
Yeah, it's like the it's your SWAT game.
Yeah.
So it's breach and clear. You're trying to breach
It's
and
not
clear.
World War II, is it?
No.
What was that game?
That's
There
Hell
was-
Let Loose.
Okay. So
Yeah,
are
that's
they
Hell
similar?
Let Loose. Ready or Not, I've played Hell Let Loose. It's okay. Ready or Not is really fun. Me and a couple of my friends, we've been getting on that, and we just completed a mission of finding a child pornography ring.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, my eyes were that big.
You found the freaking
Hey,
Epstein's Island.
you want to know why it's crazy? So my friend, Tyler,
That's in the game.
in the game.
That's interesting.
Wow.
Well, we went through 3 missions.
Epstein's mission.
And there were spiders on these like containers. And we're like, what does these spiders mean? So we find and we get through these things and we unlock a secret mission. We find out some evidence about someone who's
Oh,
harboring sensitive information.
That's crazy.
And so they dispatch us out to this pool house, and like, all right, guys, we have a warrant for their
on
arrest.
this island.
Take them dead or alive. And so we go out there and we have to clear out the entire pool house compound.
Ready or not.
Ready or not, here you
So
come.
we just completed that mission. So now we have like and they have mods, so people can mod missions for you. You can do whatever. But it's been very, very fun. It's a very good game. It's extremely difficult. We tried a non-lethal run, basically where you'll pepper spray or beanbag shoot people. It's near impossible. They don't go down, man. They don't go down. So that was really difficult. But it's cool. It's really kind of sandboxy, but in the same way, it has its own little tactical side to it. And you have to be really accurate because you reload. Another cool thing. So if you reload early, like in Call of Duty, you can just constantly reload.
Mhm.
You lose a clip when you reload.
I'm seeing more games
I've
do
heard
stuff
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Isn't that how Helldivers is? too?
Yes. So you get 4 clips,
Mm.
and if you reload, you don't get that clip again. So you have to know your bullets that you shoot.
I'm such a chronic reloader.
Dude,
Yeah,
I
me
am
too.
too. It's so
I've
hard.
always done that.
Hey,
What's your-
Helldivers punishes you for it.
I was seeing this Reddit. And it's like, what's your gaming sin? And I saw that, and I was like, yes. And the other one is this item's too good to use.
Yeah.
I finish every game with like 5 stock of every.
I do with
main
Final
item.
Fantasy games. I collect all the elixirs. I don't use them all, and then the final boss, when I know I'm in the final run, that's when I start popping elixirs.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I've saved this the whole game. 'Cause there's
No.
only 5 you can
Mine's
get from it.
I reload. I reload
Yeah.
at the worst times. And I'm like, I have 16 bullets. I can hit a shot with 16 bullets.
Yeah.
So, but those are the games I've been playing and hanging out. I'm a Rust head now. We'll see how long that lasts.
Nice. I have played one game this month. Tomb Raider Plus,
Oh,
also
yeah.
known as Tomb Raider Remastered, Tomb Raider 1 through 3. Remastered. One of the podcasts, I think I might have mentioned it. I kind of poo-pooed on the game because it kind of looked like a mobile game to me. I didn't really like the graphics on it, but I have totally did a 180 on it, and I love the remasters of these games. And I did a stream on it. You can check it out. I did a Hangouts for it. I had a bunch of people jumping in like, oh my gosh, I remember this. Like a lot of nostalgia, like going back. And they did, the best thing you can do is you press a button, you can see what it looks like old and then the new. But as I was playing this, I started realizing how crazy this remastered games are. Every game that's been remastered up to this point, if you think of like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, those were remakes. Like they had to remake that engine, all that other stuff. It's very close to those original, but it's a new engine, all this stuff. If you look at most games getting remastered, they're from the PS2, GameCube kind of era, and they do that, or 360 era. No one's taken a PS1 game or N64 game and just remastered that and kept that same feel. This game is the same engine and everything of those games, but with new graphics. So this creates crazy things I've never seen in a video game remastered before, such as this. You can get into, at the main menu, you can jump, and I love this as a kid, jump right into her manor. She has her own mansion, and there's obstacle courses, and you can just find little secrets in there and run around and get used to the game, but it's kind of like a free play. I love that as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I jumped into that, and they had paintings on the wall, throughout the mansion, and looking at it in the old PS1, style graphics. So I'm looking at that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember all this. And then you press it, and then I'm like, oh shoot, this is so cool. Those paintings are just pixelated. You can kind of make them out, but then when you hit it, you see that they were referencing actual classical art. So like
Yeah.
you get to see and you've seen these pictures. There's one with the blue like headband lady with the blonde hair out the
Yeah.
back. You've probably seen, if I showed you these, you'd know them.
You see it in so much
And you
more detail.
and you go,
now.
oh my gosh, that's what that was supposed to be. When I was a kid, you never saw that, but that they
Yeah.
were referencing these materials.
Mm-hmm.
Part 2 of that, very funny that they did this because, or they redid these graphics because in the old graphics, like these pixelated paintings and they're painting on this. When the remastered graphics, they look really nice, but it looks like a psychopath decorated the whole house because it looks fine when it's all pixelated and it's just on these blocks. But when they remaster the graphics, it's like, picture my like wall right here and imagine if on this wall I had that same Mulholland Drive poster, smaller. And then like 5 of those Evangelions over here. Like it looks like a psychopath's house. And I was like, I'm cracking up. I love this. So you get that side of it. You get just they also, and I was very intrigued to see what they would do with the controls. Because they had original tank controls back then. You had to like line up your you could press a button to like step backwards and get ready for your jump. Because in modern like third-person action games, you run, you jump, and you'll magnet to something in an Uncharted game or Assassin's Creed. You'll like magnet to the next ledge or whatever. Not in Tomb Raider. If you do not time your jump right, you'll like have the animation where she's like about to reach and she'll just fall into a pit and she'll die and you'll have to restart. So you have to time it. It's a big thing. But the modern controls, and I was like, it was blowing my mind playing this on stream. The modern controls let you turn on a dime, but you're still in that old engine. So it's like I'm getting to see my childhood like game almost hacked. And I was like, oh my gosh, like moving all the way. But it works terribly for trying to play the game that way because it's not built for that.
Yeah.
Like instead of being able to slowly step back, if you press back, she'll just run and the platforms aren't made for that and you'll just fall. So it's great for traversal. Like when,
like tap, tap,
when
tap.
I was like traversing the mansion or whatever, I was doing modern. But when I had to like do a jumping puzzle thing, I'm the tank is like where you want to be, and it feels good to like play with the tank and stuff like once you get used to it. But it was funny like a couple of years ago I kind of put these games away. I was like I've aged out of these, or these kind of have aged poorly. But now I'm loving them again, and they are really fun. I think you would really like these because they are Dark Souls of like platforming and really getting used to that and really like figuring out stuff and puzzles and stuff.
Are they challenging and like you have
They're
to really
challenging,
think through it?
and the first game you can be done with a level in like 30 minutes, 15 minutes. Some are 15, some are 30. This second game is what I'm playing now. I'm in there for like 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes on one level.
Oh my god!
It can get crazy because you're like, I have to run over here, and the game is slow.
How
the
many
game
levels?
is like, I'm not sure, but I
That's
did have
crazy.
my wife came down here, and I was like, hey, you want to watch me just play this game? This is my game from childhood, and she was just doing something else, like other work on her laptop, and she would look up, and she's like, this is so boring, because two things about this: the game is super, super quiet.
Mm-hmm.
No, like Half-Life does this too. Half-Life is another game I think of that's very quiet. You're just like, it's just sound effects in the world, and it's just you against this world, and you're hearing the world around you. This game does that too. Like, you're just hearing like kind of background noises and like streams. Like you're next to a stream, you'll hear water.
It's kind of how Dark Souls is, except when you go into a boss.
Yes. So this game will pick up music when it gets like something cool happens, or there's a boss, or there's whatever. But so that's cool to me. But part 2 of that, but you know, part 1 is like people like a lot of the game is so quiet. I'm like, I think people are gonna like fall asleep to this because there's no like it's very quiet,
It's bare.
very quiet. But I like that. It's very environmental, and you're like very zoned in on this game. Part 2 of that, it is one of the scariest games I've ever played in my life because this game does not, because it was PS1 era, it does not have to play by the logic of like new games. Because new games, it's like, oh, Resident Evil, and there was an enemy, or there was a zombie behind the door.
Yeah.
This game, if you open, like use the key on like a door, it's like, oh, it opens this thing back here. You can turn around and an enemy will have spawned behind you. But because it's so quiet and the enemies are not that loud, you'll just hear, and you're just, you just jump all the time. And there's animals, there's like tigers and stuff, and you'll turn a corner, a tiger will be there. I jump out of my skin because there's no sound. You can't hear them.
They need to recapture that
no
with
music.
the next Tomb Raider modern games.
If they just keep it quiet, they can do it. So, and all that soundscape. But this game is so quiet. And my one of the coolest things was my dad came over, and I was like, hey, do you want to come over and check out these games? Because I played these growing up with him. He played Tomb Raider 2. We played that together, and I watched him beat that growing up. So this game is very special to me. So he came over, and we like, I just was where I was at, and he just was. It was like old times. It was so special because he was like, "Oh yeah, go over there. You know, you need to do that. That's where it's at, and whatever."
Yeah.
And we got to do that again. And I was
cool.
showing him the new graphics and the old and stuff, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember this. Do this and whatever." And then I took him back to the first level because it's so memorable, and showed him that again, and so cool to do that. So
That's awesome.
I have loved these remasters. So after beat 2, I think I'm gonna go straight into 3.
That's awesome.
Because I've just loved these so much. But Tomb Raider Remastered, you'll jump out of your skin. Even my dad was here, and he's like, that made me freaking jump a mile. Like, because there was a guy right behind me. I turned around, and he's right there. With
This guy's attention.
Stuff,
I've got these on Steam. I wonder if I could just play it on the Steam Deck, the originals. Or do you think the remaster's a must for these?
Oh, one last thing about why I think you should. Here's my thing. The game was big back then on you using these flares. You'd find like packs of flares, and you'd take out, and it would light up areas that were dark.
Mm-hmm.
And they also worked underwater. Like if you were in an underwater cave and it's like, this is too dark, you take that out, and it would light up the area.
Yeah.
This game, because it would the remastered, is so funny how it clashes, and that's why I'm like, this game is worth just at least looking up on YouTube, because when you had a game of that era and you're seeing remasters of all these games, it hasn't been apparent, but like the picture frame thing, and in this game, light doesn't play like it really is. Like you're in a cave and the whole thing is kind of lit, or it's like whatever, and then you go to remastered and it's just where the hole coming into the cave is lit in the remastered.
Wow.
So it's like it's lit more realistically with volumetric lighting in an old PS1 game.
And so does that make it more immersive?
So what I found myself doing is I've been playing in both old and new, because sometimes the game is lit up not realistically in old.
Oh.
And then I switch to remastered and it's too dark there. So I go back to the old, and vice versa. Sometimes the old, I'm like, I don't know what I'm freaking looking at, and I'll hit remastered and they've lit it up.
Yeah.
So I'm like seeing which one looks better here, which works better here.
So you're using them both.
I'm using them both. So
That's interesting.
I really, really love this and been having a lot of fun. So Tomb Raider Remastered, check them out.
Nice.
Cool. That's good to hear, man. Well, it sounds like we've been playing some fun games.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we also had time to watch things. Quite
Yeah.
a few things, actually. What you guys been watching lately? What's some things you've been kind of
I've been
catching your eyes?
going through the best pictures with my wife, watching through those. And we watched one I thought was interesting to talk about, and it was The Zone of Interest.
I'm getting ready to watch this with Jess.
Yeah, I won't spoil anything, but I'll talk about like the main kind of draw of the film. But it's based on real people that lived, but they're like fictionalized versions of them. But this takes place in Auschwitz, and what happens is this commander there, general, whatever, of the Nazi army, they build a house, or they like did up this house right next to the camp. And this actually happened. They actually had like this happen, but they kind of fictionalized some stuff, and like the characters are fictionalized versions of these real people that lived. But why this movie is interesting is it's very much hyper what you hear versus what you see. So to go into this movie knowing that like it's more immersive. It's like the antithesis of Tomb Raider. It's hyper on what you're hearing and effects and like people and stuff. And the opening is very interesting. If you look up like what it means or whatever, what they were doing, it's really cool. So I really like that. There's I don't want to spoil other stuff, but there's really cool like choices they take with this movie, and it's a very interesting kind of film that they did with like sound experimentation.
Okay, cool.
I haven't seen that level of sound experimentation, sound design in a lot of movies like this did. So
interesting.
that's
cool.
a perk of it. The other thing I watched I wanted to talk about was a documentary from 1997 called Hands on Hardbody. This was about this contest that was going on, and a lot of, I guess, other dealerships had done this in the past, but they focused on this one in Texas. And it's a contest where every year, it's like a radio the DJs come out there for all this, and they have a hard body like truck, and they say the last person with their hand on this truck wins this truck.
Oh, okay.
And they explain the rules like every 15 minutes not every 15 minutes, every like 5 hours, 4 hours, they have like a 15-minute break. They can eat really quick, they can whatever. But after that, they have to have at least one hand on that truck. And it's gone on for like so they introduced all the characters, and one of the people had won previously. They won the contest 3 years prior to that, and they came back to see if they could win again. And he's like, I know all the stuff, like I know how like to win these, like and stuff. But so they get all on there, they get whatever, and then it's funny because people are like, yeah, I think I'm gonna keep going, and then like the next like little clip with them interview, they're sitting in the chair and they're like, my knees gave out, or like my whatever gave out. And there's this woman that's like really religious and like has all these tapes, like these like worship music, and she has like all her tapes laid out on the back of the truck, and she's like putting on the music and laughing and clapping and stuff, and people are like start to get scared. They're like, she's gonna probably win this thing. Like she's like laughing, and my legs are freaking burning and stuff, and she's like whatever. So
this took place in 97.
97. So they filmed as a documentary of like this contest, this particular
and it
contest.
just came out.
No, the contest or the whole movie was from 1997.
Okay.
Yeah. But so as this goes along, what I wanted to talk about in this was, well, two things. Well, for one, like this, you start to think like, could I do this? Like, could I actually win this contest? And what the winner said and what people start to realize as the movie goes along, and by the end of it, it's like, it is physical. It's definitely physical. And when they sit down, they have like a team, like their families there rubbing their feet. And like they have to wear the right shoes, and they're giving them massages really quick, and then they have to get out and go back. Yep. So it's like 4 a.m. They're taking a break. Like that's when their break is or something. But like they're going throughout the night.
Awake.
They have to stay awake.
Oh my gosh. How long do these things go?
So here's the thing. They have to stay awake. They have to do this thing. The longest one was like 100 days, like or 100 hours. Sorry, 100 hours.
Oh my gosh,
and,
that's crazy.
But the winner, the guy that won previously, he won in 87 hours. He was up for 87 hours straight. So as this starts to get later and stuff, and he was like, this is definitely physical, but it's very mental too, because there was like, they get towards the final 5, whatever, and there's this woman that like starts to get you can see she's getting super irritated. She's moving to the front of the truck, like she's like guiding her hands to the front of the truck, and she's like away from everybody. And I think they interview her, and she's like, I heard him talking and stuff, and they're saying like they're ready to go the next 12 hours. And like for her mental state at that point, she was like, I have another like 3 hours in me, and these people are going to go another day. Like they're thinking
they
like
might be bluffing.
But that's the thing, like you're so tired and stuff, and like that lady ended up like leaving, but she left in a fugue state because she had been up for so long. They watched her, and like they had somebody come over and like try to help her because she was like walking just endlessly. She just started like once she lost her, like she took her hand off, something happened or whatever, and she just started walking aimlessly, and they had to guide her, and like the camera was like, she said she's walking 2 blocks, her home's that way, and they like zoomed in, and she's like walking, and like nobody's around her, just like she's just walking home, and it's like, is she gonna make it home? You know what I mean? Like,
goodness,
But what you find is like physical, it's like, okay, that's one thing. Mental, it's like those guys were saying like, I'm ready to go the next 15 hours, and the other guy's like, yeah, I am too. You're just hyping yourself up for that. But then there's a third state, because I was thinking, I was like, I wonder if I could win this thing. You know what I mean? Like you start to think about that. Like I wonder if whatever. But what happens is, okay, you can get past the physical, cool. That's the first checkpoint. Mental, cool. The third is you start losing your mind. There was another person that said something was like, something happened, and they were like, I heard him yelling for me. They heard him yelling and nothing happened. But you start to hallucinate. Like people were starting to hallucinate because you're up. Because I've been up for like past 24 hours. You do start to hallucinate after 24 hours. Yeah. Even. Like I know they have more social interaction. They're probably more in tuned. But they get up there, they get like to the 70-hour mark, and people are losing their mind. Like losing their mind.
Gone.
Like they're interviewing someone, and one
this.
lady's going, bah, bah, bah. and laughing, and it's like they're out of it, like they're not there.
Oh my gosh.
And but that's the thing. So last thing with that. So yeah, then I'm thinking like I would want to do that, but there's a point where you actually take your hands off the wheel and you hope the autopilot takes over because you're lost. You know what I mean? Your mind's gone. I was like, that's something crazy to think about. Like, I can win this thing, but your mind's gonna have to take over subconsciously for you because you're done. So. And I started looking up. I was like, when's the last contest? Or I want to see like if they keep going or news about this. So I looked into where is the hand on hard body contest now. They no longer do it.
Yeah, I imagine.
In 2005, it was like towards the final 3 or whatever. It'd been up like some guy was up like 55 hours, 60 hours.
Mm-hmm.
He lost or he walked out, whatever. Walks across the street to a Kmart that was there, goes inside, gets a shotgun, and he throws a beer can, busts the glass out, goes inside, gets a shotgun, and shoots himself in the place.
Oh my gosh.
And they no longer did the contest.
Yeah, I imagine.
And yeah, then you start to think about it, it's like, yeah, that was incredibly crazy dangerous to have people like in a fugue state. They're in a fugue state. Like they're not there at all. So
oh my gosh.
yeah.
That's.
But then I also remembered Mr. Beast. I think did something
Mr.
where
Beast
they
does
keep a
all
hand on
this,
but it's not to this level. There's no way. It's like
no, they had one. Literally, kid you not, the last video you just did, last to leave whatever circle took like 2.5 days to complete because they wouldn't leave. Yeah. What he's doing now is he's now building things. He put a guy in a department store.
But see, that's like 48 hours. These people are going 70
he put
to
a guy in a department store. He said, "Hey, for every day you stay in, I'll give you $10,000. Stay there for 6 months."
Is he allowed to sleep though?
Yeah, he sleeps.
Yeah,
He sleeps in the department store,
yeah.
but he has to get rid of stuff every day too.
Yeah.
So he was there for like 6 months.
Yeah.
He stayed there for 6 months.
That's crazy, but he made bank.
Yeah.
He makes money, and so like those things. Like again, it's one of those things that's all about how you do it. But like,
that kind of stuff is like, that's what they were saying is like you can win to a point, but then you also your mind is going to give out.
Yeah.
But like you can be mental and physical for a while, but your mental is going to give out, and you will have to rely on
pure autopilot.
Autopilot.
Yeah.
So
right on.
Very cool. Very sad ending to that in the end, but the documentary is cool itself.
Well,
yeah.
Before they ended it,
I watched something from the 70s.
You watched something from the 70s?
From the 70s.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? That's so weird for me.
What'd you watch?
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
You ever seen it?
No, I've seen it. It actually spurred off of us. We watched Wonka, the movie that came out in 2023. It has the guy from Dune, I think, in it.
Yeah.
Phenomenal movie. Really good. Really good. Like, I don't know if you guys like the musical kind of stuff. I normally don't.
Yeah.
But they really did a great job with this, and he is so talented. Like his singing wise.
What is his freaking name? I forgot.
Timothy. Yeah, sorry.
I didn't know that was a musical.
Yeah.
It's like I would say it's 60% music, 40% acting. But the music's very good. I've been listening to the soundtrack this whole week.
Oh, I didn't know.
It was so good.
Cool.
But we watched it and I looked at my wife and was like, man, that was so good. Like really, really good.
What's this other one?
And so now, I was like, I need to go back and watch Charlie and the Chocolate because that had Gene Wilder in it.
Yeah,
and,
I love Willy Wonka, man.
I went back and watched Charlie and the Chocolate. And I was like, this movie's amazing. Like Gene Wilder is so good. He's such a great actor. And like when he got mad at everyone, he got mad at Charlie in the end. He's like, I don't get, just get out.
Yeah.
And you're like, this dude's mad. Like you really felt that intensity and everything. And I was like, oh yeah, they remade this in 2005.
My favorite tidbit from that first movie is when he is first being introduced and he walks up that carpet and he has the cane or whatever and he like drops it and he's about to fall and he does the roll.
Yes.
Because I think that was Gene Wilder's ideal because he wanted it to be like from that point on you don't know what this guy's gonna do.
Yeah.
Like
no
this
clue.
guy, I love that.
So
that
I think
it's
Willy Wonka and the
character.
Chocolate Factory from the 70s. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came out in 2005.
Oh yeah, the one with the big heads.
Yeah, the Tim Burton reboot. And that movie sucked.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody.
It was bad.
Have you guys not seen it?
I've never heard good stuff about it, so I've never seen it.
Johnny Depp, not the move.
It looked like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, and then on top of that, just how do I describe? Like I watched the original, and I was like, oh, this is like really like kind-hearted and really
Mhm.
sweet, and these guys are really poor. They do a great job setting up Charlie and this family to be like the redemption story. They're just trying to get over their luck, and then you come in here and now you have a Willy Wonka who has daddy issues, and you're like, I don't need this. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't what I need.
It just didn't look like it had any of the fun and imagination. And Gene Wilder's a hard act to follow,
Yeah.
but he's just so like energetic and like that always looked cold and sterile. to
was,
me,
it was.
you know, and just awkward.
Yeah, and the kid that played Charlie, like he was like, he didn't really get
So
me.
you went through the Wonka trilogy.
I did honestly.
Jeez.
'cause,
They
like,
need to
it-
remaster that trilogy next.
But no, honestly, like what they did with Wonka was really cool, and hopefully it kind of gives them like a little bit of a, what if we kind of just continue to tell the story of Wonka,
Wonka 2, you think it's coming?
something like that. And they don't have to. Like they ended Wonka in such a great way that you don't have to do anything
Wonkas.
different.
Was there an after credits?
Yeah, but it involved Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa.
There really was an after credits.
Yeah, well, it was Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa. That was it.
Hugh Grant is. Oompa
Yeah,
Loompa?
he's Oompa Loompa.
Okay.
He's just one. They only had one Oompa Loompa. They didn't have any, and it was a hilarious story about how Wonka first met the Oompa Loompas.
So it's a young Wonka.
Yeah, it's very first started Wonka, like his
It's the prequel.
very beginning, like how he like first started even selling his chocolate.
So what order should I watch these in?
Watch, I'm dead serious. Watch Wonka.
Okay, you start with
then-
Wonka.
Start with Wonka.
Got it.
Then watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is one from the 70s.
Okay.
All
and
right.
then I can go to the 2005
Then watch the
one.
2005, and that's like a Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like that's
Okay.
like a different universe, Wonka. That's how you do it. But no, it was just like
you think when they made that movie in the 70s, they ever predicted you got to watch Wonka? You gotta watch this movie. that
Watch
came out.
Wonka, and then you can come.
yeah. But no, I'll tell you right now, go and watch Wonka. It's available. You can I think you can get it on Google, and you can watch it, and that's what we did. We watched it on Google, and it was really really fun. It was really lighthearted and honestly really funny. And there's a lot of cool nods from the 70s
Oh,
movie
callbacks, yeah.
in the Wonka one that I wouldn't have caught if it wasn't for the fact that I watched the 71s. Like his competitors were all competitors in the real 70s movie.
Oh.
Um, and so all the stuff that Wonka had to face in his early career makes sense because of the 70s movie.
Very cool.
So, but plus the soundtrack's just great. Like I don't know who does this, but whenever like a musical does come out and it gets like motion pictured,
Yeah.
Majority of the time I feel like it's a hit.
La
I
La
know that sounds
Land,
crazy. La La,
Les
Les Mis,
yeah.
like all those like songs, like people listen. Hamilton,
Hamilton,
like
yeah.
all these people go out and they listen to him all the time. And then I listen to Wonka and I was like, man, Timothy, like that dude can sing. Like,
Timothy.
yeah, he can really, really sing. So and
Do
plus,
they do the Oompa Loompa?
no, well actually, well that's the
How are you gonna
Hold
do?
on, hold on, that's
how
the
you gonna
end
do
credit.
a Wonka
That's
musical?
the end-
That
that's
is
the
the
end-
end credit.
Oh,
That's the end
shh!
credit.
Don't tell the
But
people.
Hugh Grant. Hugh
Loompa.
Grant does it though.
Okay.
That's why it's so interesting, because it's Hugh Grant.
Well, I didn't have that on my bingo card, but I do like Willy Wonka.
Got the-
So.
I'm telling you, man, it was it's really good. But I
We're
have to ask
bringing
you,
Wonka
there is
back.
a question I have to ask. Why have you not watched your Hankathon movie?
The Hankathon, honkathon.
Honkathon,
I just got to try
honkathon.
different honks
I don't know
on
if
cars.
I don't know if a Hankathon ever ends. It just
The
kind of-
Hankathon never ends. It just
hibernates.
hibernates. So we'll be back.
I picked it up with the Bondathon. That's what's
I
been
will
going on.
say maybe this is the year of the return of the Hankathon because I've watched a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Some that I haven't even talked about on here, but I've been in a movie.
There's the movie.
I'm a movie head.
I need you to watch a certain Hankathon movie. It's the one that just came out.
I know the Otis or whatever.
Yeah, I need you to
Yeah,
watch
I will.
it.
I'll get through them.
It's extremely good, and I'm like, someone needs to
I will
watch
finish
this movie.
for Hank.
All right, please, Hank's begging you. Hank's popping
Have you
up
seen-
on my
Watch Friday Night Lights. yet?
Frick, no, I haven't watched Friday Night. You know what we're watching? We're watching Ted Lasso again. Maya's never
You're
seen
watching
it, though.
something again.
Maya hasn't seen Ted Lasso, so we're watching it through. That way she can watch it with me. It's a joint effort. Friday Night Lights, is it on Netflix?
I mean, I think it's on all of them. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay, because I just canceled Netflix.
It's on all of them.
I put all my subscriptions on.
You have a bet that you're not fulfilling.
Ooh, that's true.
What are you supposed to do?
I already did my
What was the
part.
bet?
What was it?
I finished the leftovers, and you were gonna watch.
What's my punishment if I don't do this? Let me weigh my options.
You'll love the show.
I'm sure I will. I just haven't done it yet. I put all my subscriptions on a
I'm not
prepaid
watching
card
the
now.
bear until you start it. Just FYI.
That's your fault. You're just missing out. Have you saw the bear, right?
Not yet.
What's wrong with you two? Do you guys not like good things?
I am watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's the final season, so I'm watching some of that. So
Yeah.
it's my only show I'm watching.
Yeah, good
I'm
for
watching
you.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, there's a new Walking Dead. I haven't got to see the new episode. New Walking Dead, baby. I've seen more Walking Dead than any of my friends.
Do you think
at this point? Could you have predicted that like 5 years ago? Because 5 years ago, I was like, I hate anything to do with Walking Dead.
Do you think people in The Walking Dead play Yu-Gi-Oh
they might?
to pass time?
They might.
Imagine we finished the Duelist Kingdom arc.
Dude, hey, Duelist Kingdom from Battle City is such a weird ramp.
I am so excited for Battle City.
Yeah, Battle City's great.
I just got through the Dungeon Dice stuff, and now Battle City's getting ready to start.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for the battles to make sense.
Duelist Kingdom.
All right, we're getting battles that make sense.
They completely blow out the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, they don't exist.
For the sake of anime. When Yugi can pull out of his butt a Dark Magician 4 times for no reason, you're like, this is 100% a cartoon.
It's all vibes.
Yeah, it's all.
Kingdom.
Yeah.
I do like Duelist Kingdom because I just like the characters. I'm very nostalgic for it. But Battle City's when it gets like
good.
I'm very sorry. Can we wrap up the podcast with this story? I forgot to tell you guys about this.
A Yu-Gi-Oh story?
This is a follow-up. This is the sequel. Just like Wonka was the prequel, I am now the follow-up to Wonka.
Okay.
To this story. Do you guys remember, I told this story, for those that don't know, on a podcast where I called a support and it took like 30, 45 minutes, an hour.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, we need your wife on the phone. And I said,
Yes.
yeah, give me a sec. I was so frustrated. I was like, give me a second. I went, hello?
Yep.
Yes. And they're like, are you Chelsea? And I said, yes.
I do remember that.
And but as I was doing that, I'm so mad because like I needed to get this thing done. So I'm like doing voices mad. So that was a success. I have been helping one of my family members with something. And I called on their part and said, hey, blah, blah, this. And I forgot it was the other family member that was on this account to do something. And they said, oh, is that person there with you? Because we need their thing. So I was like, oh, yes, she is. So I'm already cooking.
How long do you wait
I'm already
between
cooking the
as
voice.
you go get them?
I'm already cooking the voice.
Do you wait like 45 seconds, a minute?
Well, that's what I was already like, yeah, I'll walk out. I'll walk away from the phone. I'm going to do this realistic and come back as my other family member who's a woman. So I was like, yeah, give it to me. Here we go. So.
Oh, no.
I said, hey, can I do this? And they said, oh, we're actually going to need, her. And I said, oh, okay. I was like, I think she's around here somewhere. I think she's around here somewhere. She does not live anywhere around here. I was like, yeah, I think she's around here somewhere. And he's like, oh, okay, great. So what I'm going to do, if you want to go get her, like, I'm going to text this code to the phone that's on the account.
Oh, my God.
You can just have her tell me that. And I was like, cool. You need the code? Because I know it's not my phone. There's no way to reach it. And so he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, let me, because I'd already said I was going to see it. I was like, let me go see if she's here. So I had to walk away because I was going to laugh. But I had to walk and just stand for a second and just silence. And then I came back in the room. I didn't really have to do that, but I walked back in the room and I was like, yeah, she left for the day. I'm sorry. But I basically, he was like, okay, no problem. Yeah, just when you can, like, I'll text her the code. And I was like, crap.
God.
So they got through me on that. They had to do like with a billing issue, so I understand what was more involved.
Did you not like three-way call them in?
I think she was at work. I didn't want to bother with this.
I've done that.
She knew I was like helping with this, but I just didn't want to. Yeah.
That's hilarious. They called your bluff.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna text another crap.
I thought you were going to
should have said 4, 7.
No, that's not right.
Are you sure? I'm looking at this code.
I think it's
upside down. 8.
Eventually, you're gonna make another phone call.
Did you say A? Yes. A. Okay, that's the first.
You're gonna make a phone call one time, and they're like, "I need you to turn your camera on FaceTime." And you're like, "What?"
I'll have to get like props, like wigs and stuff. I would get like props and stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah, but that's follow-up. Did not work the second time, but it will work for goofy stuff.
Those companies have the stupidest little security things to keep them from like...
Yeah, that one was a good one, but it was like...
Sound like it worked.
Yeah.
Oh, it worked on Zach.
Yeah. The first one, I can't remember what the first one was for, but I guess it wasn't
You
important
couldn't
enough
have
to
like put them on mute. Say, go ahead and send the code. They send the code, put them on mute, and then text the person like, "Hey, what's the code you just got?"
I wouldn't been fast enough because I'd already said like, "Oh yeah, I'll go."
I would have made them hold for 5 minutes. Frick them, dude.
I guess.
Hey, I have a lot of stairs, man. Sorry, it took me a minute.
In this process, not to go too deep into what this issue I was helping with, I'm glad that didn't even work in the end because it was like able to get the thing way cheaper. So
okay,
there was a good ending.
Right on.
Got tricked though.
Well, that works for me.
Can't trick the trickster.
Hopefully, you have another one soon.
Yeah,
not that I like impressions.
That story is the message of that story is things aren't real and you can usually get away with anything. I know there's stories you probably don't want to tell on this podcast where you've done stuff like that to that level of like crazy. People would jaw hit the floor if they knew it.
Like you
can get away with things.
You have to do things sometimes.
We're not talking like robbing a bank or anything, but we're just talking like there are like barriers to entry that are literally just like the door's not locked.
Okay, hold on.
That's how you wind up on stage at the Game Awards.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like
we got a few seconds. Just give me a few seconds. I want to open a can of worms.
Okay.
Can we talk about this here? We're a friendly.
It's
what
up to you. What's
the
story?
What's the most unethical thing you've done at your job?
I don't really.
Or past job. What's the most unethical thing you've done at your past job?
I'm gonna think through this and think.
Because I have one, and your jaw will hit the floor when I tell you what it is.
I really can't.
He's gonna plead the fifth.
I will not tell you the company I worked for when I tell you what I did, but
I'm trying to think. Like,
I'm trying to think early in my career because I'm pretty boring now, but I'm trying to think when I was younger if I did.
Yeah,
anything.
this was more. Actually, this was recent. This was.
I can't think of anything in a job. I've done stuff at like college that was like borderline crazy.
Okay, I mean unethical then in that sense. I guess.
Yeah, or just like kind of like breaking the rules in a way that it worked. But like,
I'll go first.
Okay, this is your funeral.
So I got laid off in
This
COVID.
is how we end the podcast. We'll wrap it up with this.
Yeah, I got laid off from my job as a logistics manager of a medium-sized logistics firm. I was a self-layoff. I saved some jobs. I was trying to be humble.
Trying to be humble, guys.
So I took unemployment because what American didn't take unemployment during that time. And I milked unemployment for as long as I can because they weren't even checking whether or not you were asking for it. And I realized real quickly I need a job. So I went and got a job.
You might have to bleep some of the story.
Why are you putting this on the internet, Jacob?
Oh, I don't care. It's Reddit. If anything, go on Reddit. They do the same things.
But your face is on this.
Oh, well, I don't care. It is what it is.
Go ahead, keep talking.
So I'm
like the worst journalist ever. Like, stop, don't do this.
And I'm like,
so I get a job at a social work company, a company that does social work, the betterment of the community.
This story is insane.
I was hired because I was a male. They all had females, and they needed to hire a male. And one of the craziest things I found out, I told you guys before, I was one of the highest paid employees there because I was a male. And there were people who had their master's degrees, and I got paid more than them.
And you don't have the degree.
And I don't have a degree
that you needed for that.
So I take this job. I know nothing. I know zero.
This was unethical maybe on you. It's unethical on them to have done that.
You know, it's a co-thing. So my first,
Just wait for the rest of the story and tell me who you think was unethical.
My first 2 weeks.
Oh, wait, yeah, the end, yeah.
My first 2 weeks there, I sat in the office. I was supposed to be getting trained. But
if you've seen Seinfeld, there's an episode where George Costanza isn't hired at a company.
This is the most George Costanza.
This is George. That is that episode.
Yes. So I sit there and I start to realize I'm not doing anything. Is this my job? And so I started to like kind of fool around a little bit, and then I finally got handed a caseload. Basically what that meant was like, here's the schools you're attending for this school year to help teach them about drug prevention. And I was like, okay. And I sat there and was like, what curriculum do I use for this? So then I started to realize I have no manager. No one's checking on me. Okay. So I started to proceed to go to these schools, and we'd play Uno, and I'd talk about how bad marijuana is and some other things like that. And that's all I did. And I was a full-time employee. They thought I turned in a logbook every week with the hours I worked, and I worked an amazing 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. I probably worked 30 to 45 minutes a day, but I would turn in that logbook, and I turn it in every week, and they pay me, and they do what they have to. And I did this the whole entire school year. I had online classes that I would Zoom into, and I'd have these kids just running amok, and I'd just be sitting there like, so how was your day? That was all that I did. So, end of the school year comes, and this is where it all falls apart. They have a day called counting day, and it's in the bottom of the office. And we all went down there, and everyone's bringing a bunch of paperwork. So I brought a bunch of binders that had nothing in them because I didn't know what we were doing. We get down there, we're all sitting at tables. I can only imagine
counting day, and then you picked up.
You bring empty binders.
So
what? Hey, can I ask you what was your plan with the binders?
I just wanted to look like I had something.
But what if they said, "Oh, like, yeah, let's see what's going on"?
I was like, oh, I forgot I was gonna go upstairs. I don't know.
God,
So we get upstairs, and then the lady who runs our company, she's like, all right, guys, this is a yearly thing. We have to turn in our numbers for our grants because they're nonprofit, and they had to report how many kids that you worked with, how often they show up to your classes, their ages, their genders, their races, and you have to count all of them because accounting gives grants based on the people you work with. And I'm sitting here, and I kid you not, I had the largest caseload in our company. I went to 5 different schools, and I had 7 online classes.
Censor that.
I didn't.
Yeah, dude.
Hey,
delete that.
Listen. I didn't count a single one of them. Not a single time did I take attendance. I didn't write a single kid's name down. So I'm sitting there, and
with your binder that's empty.
All these people have like these worksheets, and they're pulling them out, and they're all talking, and they bring in lunch, and I'm like, I need to go get some papers. I have some stuff written down. So I go upstairs. I grab a bunch of papers. They had a bunch of random words written down, and I take these forms, and I start like, okay, I can do this. And I just start writing numbers down. And I go back throughout the entire year that I turned in a work log.
Did you have those papers blank?
Yes.
So
I had the blank ones.
But
So
you never thought.
I'm not certain this isn't criminal. Like I actually think this is very unwise that you're admitting this.
It's okay. That's fine. It is what it is. It happened 4 years ago. They can't take me now. So then.
What were you writing down, Jacob?
Not names. No, I just wrote down.
You didn't make up names.
No, I made up ages and genders and then races. And so I wrote that all down, and then I sat there and was like, I'm getting fired. Because I didn't want to tell them that I didn't do this. Because then when they hired me, they told me the training was by fire. That means you just figure it out as you go.
So they didn't train you.
No one trained me.
And that is the one thing I will say. It sounds like
you fell through the
should
cracks.
not have been doing this job.
I was not qualified.
And shame on them
Yes.
with their program that they did not identify.
And I'm
not letting you off the hook. I'm just saying.
No. I'm not innocent either. But I promise you, and I'm not saying
Both
this because I did it wrong. They told me in the interview, training by fire, and I was like, that's fine. I'm pretty good on the fly.
You know what? I think you're pretty good on the fly.
You were waiting for the trial by fire. There was no fire.
There was no fire. And then you showed up. It's time for the trial.
So here's the cherry on top, and this is going to wrap it all up. So
trial by trial.
I kid you not. 4:30 rolls around. They fed us lunch. Everyone's done talking, and I was like, I need to resign. So I go upstairs.
Dude, you about pulled a Nixon and got on your helicopter, bro.
I turned my paper. So they don't check it. I turned my paperwork in a pile. I typed up my resignation letter. I slid it under the door.
You resigned?
I resigned immediately.
Okay.
And so then, here's where it got worse. I started getting phone calls because they went to check my numbers and they were wrong. And they realized how fast they were wrong. And they're trying to call me saying, Jacob, do you have this paperwork? Jacob this, Jacob that. And I left my key card in there. I left my laptop. I left everything in a box that had a lock on it. But I didn't give them the key because I forgot to give them the key to the box. So they have to snap this lock to get into my work box, which in the work box was just pencils and Uno cards.
They were like, they probably spent probably $150 on a locksmith to come out there and only to find Uno cards. Could you imagine their faces?
I blocked their numbers and I just said, you know what? To each their own. I hope they're doing fine.
Holy crap, man.
I mean, that is the craziest one of the craziest stories
I've ever heard. And you know what?
Can't top it?
No, I cannot top that. But I'll just say it's a good thing that you moved on, and I'm sure they had some lessons learned.
Look, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how stupid nonprofits can be. I learned a lot about the idea that trial by fire does not work. Guys, don't ever hire and not train. You should train.
You should train.
You should train. Also, don't hire based on gender or race. No, hire people who are qualified. Because I was not qualified for that job, and I should have never got the job. And COVID was wild.
COVID was wild.
COVID was
You know
wild.
what? Chalk it all up to COVID. You know what?
I don't think you were thinking straight.
You know, I may have had
So
COVID.
wait, did they train you at all?
No. So I had a lady. I'll call her. I'll use.
Is that her
BH.
real initials?
No. This is pre-marriage. But anyways, she took me. So what happened was she was quitting, and what she did was she trained me. She took me to her schools for a week, showed me what she did in her classes. How I came up with the Uno because she just did Uno with those dang kids, and then
She quit before counting week too.
yeah. So then the next week that I was supposed to be like leading the groups and she watched, she quit early. So then they're like, "Hey, here's your caseload." And I'm looking at it like, what the? I don't know what to do here. And so I grab a
What
bunch
did
of...
you do on your laptop that they gave you?
Huh?
What did you do with the
Turn my hours in so I got paid. I want to get paid. And so then I grabbed a book. I actually still have the book in my car. It's in my trunk. It's a book on marijuana facts, and I just studied it and learned a lot about marijuana. And I just talked to these not kindergartners. I shouldn't say that.
You were the
Like,
first generation of post-COVID employees. Because post-COVID, like, employees trying to get help from anybody right now,
oh, they just don't.
everyone doesn't know anything.
No, they
but
don't
you
know
were
it.
kind of like,
Bro,
you were the Wonka to that.
I'm walking into these schools and I'm like saying hi to I'm walking into teachers' lounges and I'm like pouring a cup of coffee and I'm talking to these teachers like I'm one of them. And bro, I screwed every single one of those schools over.
You know, like you said earlier, like it's paper thin barriers to get into places you shouldn't be. That is the definition of it. You were walking around schools.
Yeah, I had like key tag and everything.
What a mess.
I was
man.
in 3 elementary schools, a high school, and not elementary, 3 middle schools, and a high school and an elementary school.
Did you have to do a background check?
Well, yeah, I passed.
Okay. We at least
I'm
got
a
that.
good guy. Like, I'm not a terrible person. I just,
I'm just saying. I
got hired for a job I wasn't qualified to do, and I just had to get through it.
Yeah.
Why did they hire you for that job if you
They needed a guy bad. And so I got word of it. Someone told me, hey,
they got a guy.
No,
they got
I
a guy.
kid
You got what you asked
You
for.
need a guy,
kid
you got a
not,
guy.
I got a phone call from a lady that I was really
Holy
good friends with.
crap.
And she's like, hey, this company's hiring. You love working with teenagers. I think you'd do great here. And I was like, yeah, I like working with teens. And I was like, this makes sense. I like working with kids. And so I do an interview, and they're like, well, we love you. Even though you don't have the qualifications, we think we can get you where you need to be.
didn't really know how formal it was going to be.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so then I take the job. They tell me the salary. I negotiate a higher salary, and then they give it to me. And so then I come in, and like I walk in. Right here's Jacob Ware. There's a plaque on the door.
No, that's the biggest cheat code. Yeah, you could just
There's
say
a plaque on
whatever
the door. I walk in my
salary.
office, and I was like, I sit down, and I open my
Hey,
email.
George
I
Costanza.
had 0 emails. I was like, what do I do today? And that's what I thought.
I
first
need
day.
to find the arc when that's happening in Seinfeld, and you need to watch it.
I probably need to. 'cause
You
it's-
did that.
Yeah. It was the craziest year of my life.
Wow.
By far. I tell this story and people they think I'm a criminal. I'm not a criminal. I'm just a product of the situation. That's
This
just
is
what
why
it is.
you really liked that episode.
You're a victim of circumstance.
I am.
You know that BS High, Doc? That's why you
Yeah.
really like that.
Yeah.
You lived BS High.
I'll tell you
You worked
what.
there.
I work for another school now and we're on good terms. I would never do anything to do anything wrong there.
I think when I worked at Frisch's, like I stole some fries. Like that is
No,
like
you
the
took a
extent-
glass, right? That was Steak and Shake.
No, I didn't work at Steak and Shake.
Oh, you didn't. Okay.
No. I
Nothing
worked-
else?
No, I mean I
You
never
once
took
signed
money.
a paper you didn't read?
I just never was a kid that would skip class or do any of
Yeah.
that. I was always kind of following the rules.
You slept in
and
class.
I slept in class. I didn't skip. I didn't
Oh, I missed 56 days my senior year.
Oh my god.
leave. Well,
That is an entire month you were there.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right. Well, I think that is long enough
Love it.
for the podcast. Thank you for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter. No, X. I'm so silly.
Yeah, X.
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 DweeBros is what we're on there. We're also on TikTok. Might see some skits on there.
Scroll
Might
through
see
it.
some clips, some highlights. That was probably a highlight.
yeah, that was.
I don't
awesome.
know if I put that on TikTok.
But yeah, check us out on there. And Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time, I do hangouts. Right now, I'm working on a movie, so I've not been good at that, but I did one this month. Maybe I did 2 this month. But
Good for you.
7 p.m. on Thursdays. Excuse me. Check it out. But other than that, as Phil Spencer would say, stay tuned until next time. We have some more things to tell you next month.
We hear you and we're listening.
We hear you and we're listening. And DweeBros is going to be on every screen one day. I know it. Bye-bye.
See you.